It's time for an original concept that you have definitely never seen before. We are going to rank League of Legends characters by how likely they are to appear in Project L. And when I say we, I mean myself and ForceObscure, who is with me today because, I don't know, we apparently share these two particular interests of League of Legends and fighting games.
And the interest of making original and useful content
Oh
for
yeah,
all of you.
original and definitely very useful. Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, I've got 6 categories here. We've got rankings of likeliness, and then I've put these 5 characters at the top that have been confirmed by their presence in existing trailer material. So let's go in alphabetical order. Let's start with Aatrox. I think that he is kind of completely neutral. Like I don't think that they would specifically choose him, but I don't think there's any particular reason why you could rule him out.
Yeah,
Like,
fine by me.
if you wanted to exclude him, it would mostly be for lore reasons, but if you wanted to include him, you could easily grab him for gameplay reasons. It's not like there aren't plenty of other characters in fighting games with big swords.
Yeah, well, unless we have, unless we have something that's specifically going to move the character up to likely, we should just say, yeah, I'm unlikely unless someone has something to say about it, so we can move it up.
Speaking of which, much to my chagrin, I'm going to say that Akali is extremely likely. I think she's a near guarantee because she's a very popular character both inside and outside the player base of League of Legends, and you kind of need to have a fast character, like a really fast character, so she'll probably be like Chip is in Guilty Gear.
Oh, but she is going to be in it. There's no other way around.
Yeah,
she's
she
popular,
may as well be confirmed.
Yeah.
All right, Alistar. I don't know. Like, I feel like Alistar, if he is in it, he's definitely going to be one of the big body characters. You know, he's going to be like the Zangief of the game. I don't.
Well, just quite for neutral for me.
Yeah, like I think that there are other characters that might be more likely in the big body archetype because Alistar isn't exactly hugely popular. Well, anyway, yeah, neutral. Amumu, I want to say is unlikely because he's not hugely popular and he's like in the space of small characters that exist in League of Legends. I feel like there's like not a whole lot that would translate well into a fighting game because like the most compelling thing he has that would make for a special move in a fighting game is bandage toss. Everything else about him is really boring.
There's his ultimate, but that's
yeah, like you could do some creative visuals with this character if he were to be included, but I feel like the only like idea that I personally have if I were to put a Mumu in a fighting game is to just give him Spencer's grapple shot from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So yeah, I think he's unlikely. Similarly, I think Anivia is unlikely, but that's only because she's a decidedly non-humanoid character, and I think that most non-humanoid characters are going to be unlikely. The thing is, or the pot might possibly even be put into the no way category. Anivia, I don't think is one of the least likely ones though, because a bird in a fighting game isn't a completely unheard of concept. It just so happens that the bird in question was Pet Shop in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Heritage for the Future, and
I think that's overall, as you said, most non-human character will be.
But it's also specifically a bird with ice powers, right? And that bird was broken as hell.
So... Yeah, well, I think no way is fine for her. Well, you decide just unlike her, no way, just move on to the next one. And
oh man, Annie, I'm gonna say neutral.
I would put an unlikely because Annie, while not being the most interesting character, is one that if they go for a large roster, she should eventually show up.
That's true.
But then I would have said the same about Legends of Runeterra, and yet she's not in it.
Yeah, like, well, the problem is that Annie's kind of a hard character to fit in certain like combat contexts. Like, it's hard to design a card for Annie because like basically her entire gimmick is just she throws fire and she summons Tibbers. Like that's probably easier to implement into a card game than it is to put into a fighting game. But in a fighting game she could easily be like a puppet type character, and Tibbers could just be a permanent fixture on the screen. Like that's one of the reasons why I didn't immediately put Anivia into No Way, is because you need to have some weird characters, right? There's a lot of archetypes of non-standard fighting game character, and some of these some League of Legends characters are going to fit the bill for them.
I was just thinking maybe if we should just start early on change the way we make the trade list and maybe try to fill first by tiers, likely and very unlikely, and maybe talk about the neutral to No Way afterwards.
I don't know. I feel like we could just keep going with alphabetical order because a lot of these are going to be very self-explanatory.
Then we should then be a bit slightly faster.
Yeah, I mean, like Aphelios I think is unlikely because his particular flavor of weird is, I mean, maybe
it's a strategic and tactical weird thing with changing weapons. I think it's possible to fit it in a fighting game, but
it's possible. But I don't think they'll do it immediately. I feel like we'll have to wait like a year. Like I feel like
he can be a good stance fighter.
Possibly. The thing is, he'd be a very resource management intensive character. Like, I mean, I think the character that currently exists in a fighting game that is probably most analogous with the type of thing that Aphelios would end up doing is actually Happy Chaos, who is the most recently added character to Guilty Gear Strive as of this video's recording. And like, he only has one gun, but he has quite a few things to be managing. Aphelios has 5 guns. I think he could work in a fighting game, but I don't think they'll leap on, at the opportunity to include him. I think if he does get put in the game, it'll be after it's existed for a while. You know, he's not a safe thing to put into the base roster.
Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, I agree on that.
Ashe, I think, is a very safe pick, though. Bow characters in fighting games are very, very common picks for the keep-away archetype, and there aren't really any keep-away characters in like, strictly speaking, in the currently confirmed roster. And Ashe is a very popular character.
There's not many bow characters, and I think that outside the Vayne one, she uses a crossbow. She's the most likely one to appear, more than Varus or other similar champion.
Yeah, as far as keep-out characters are concerned, I think Ashe is a shoo-in. Aurelion Sol is the first one I'm going to put in the no way category because I don't see any way that you could really make any of his gameplay mechanics work. Also, he's kind of the size of a fucking galaxy. You kind of can't put that type of character in a fighting game unless he's the final boss, you know?
Yeah, but he's like Galactus in MVC.
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
It's a boss character.
The screen-sized boss character. Maybe you could do that with him. But you certainly can't make him playable.
But I still think that his stars rotating around him could be made into gameplay with a spacing type gameplay. You space around them like you do in League, but that's it. And then, Azir.
All right, Azir. My bias towards Azir wants me to put him higher, but I can't put him any higher than neutral. I might even say unlikely because he's another one of those characters where if you were to implement his mechanics into a fighting game as they are in League of Legends, he'd probably end up being in like the puppet character category, similar to what I reckon Annie would be like.
Yeah, but I think that Annie would be a more interesting one. But I think he's a neutral. He might come later as later content, like you said with Furious. But I don't see.
Yeah.
I don't see Azir in the base roster again.
Yeah, I certainly don't see him in the base roster. I'm gonna leave him in unlikely. All right, Bard. Bard's...
No way. For me, it's no way. He's too unique. He there's no way you translate Bard outside of League or TFT, and then everything else doesn't really work.
Yeah. If they do find a way to put him in, he is definitely going to be a weird character.
A weird with a capital W, because there's like no way you make that work.
Weird with a capital W and maybe a couple of other letters capitalized for no reason other than just to add weirdness.
Weird, though, like you say with the SpongeBob meme. All right.
Blitzcrank I'm going to call neutral. He's another candidate for like big body type character, and like Because Blitzcrank kind of already has like the grappler style to him in League of Legends. His entire game plan revolves around rocket grab. You know,
I would say he's just too simple.
he's well, I don't know. Like he's only simple because he's limited by the fact that he's such an old champion in League of Legends.
Yeah, but just his everything, his gameplay, his design, it doesn't feel like you can expand much without having to first give it in other places than other than what we currently have in League. Because what do we know about Blitzcrank? He's a hook character in League of Legends. Does he do? Not much. He's a hook character in TFT because he's always in TFT because
Well,
hook
yeah,
is
that's
good.
that's because
But
those
that's
are
it.
the animations that they have for him. If I were to imagine Blitzcrank in a fighting game, I'd imagine him being like somewhere between a grappler and like a Dalsim type character. Like you could easily turn him into like a long limbs, big body character, something like somewhere between Nemesis and Ghost Rider in Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
More.
Like big bodies and long limbs are not usually combined, but like intersections between those two archetypes do exist, and Blitzcrank would be a good like template of a character to try and like fit that onto. And as I say, he really his playstyle in League of Legends really does fit the grappler archetype to a T. He entirely revolves around his grab move, and every interaction he has with his opponent is based on either landing it or making the opponent fear that he might land it.
Yeah, well, I don't see how you translate that in a 2D fighter that well, because there's a difference between being a grappler in a fighting game and being a hook character in MOBA.
Yeah, well,
I think that
you
there are
haven't played
two
as many
very
fighting
different.
games as me.
Yeah, that's true.
And
But
long range command grabs do exist. Axel in Guilty Gear Strive has a full screen command grab.
hmm,
And when I say full screen, I mean full screen distance. If you're on the ground, he can grab you. It doesn't work in the air. Yeah, bless me.
Brand, no, I think
Right.
neutral is fine.
Yeah,
Mover,
Brand's neutral. I feel like if he fits a fighting game character archetype, it's keep away. But
well, I
I'm
think he's a good staple of how to turn a mage that only uses magic into a fighting game character if they find a way to do it.
yeah. He'll be like. I keep referencing Marvel vs. Capcom. It's very easy to reference Marvel vs. Capcom because Project Hell is going to be a tag fighting game. But if I had
That's
to
so
like
many characters.
yeah, if I had to find like a reference for what I would expect Brand to be like, it'd be like Dormammu in Marvel 3.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. And the things
Dormammu,
of
I've come to
Pascal.
break break your team. Braum, I think, is unlikely because I think I feel like he wouldn't do a whole lot. You know, like his Braum's whole thing is that he doesn't really fight you. He just sort of protects someone. Uh,
Well, he does fight if you've played the Rune King game.
well, yeah, but
Um,
like
but
if
he
you were
fits
to
in the RPG style of this game.
yeah, like if I were to try and imagine Braum in a 2D fighting game, I'd imagine big body and turtle. But the problem is that you kind of can't have a big body turtle because the limitation of the big body character is that he can't get in, and the goal of a turtle character is to make the other character come to them. Right, so that only works
Hmm.
if they possess some kind of threat at full screen, and I don't think there's a real visual way of making Braum able to do that unless he's like full screen throws poros at you type character. I don't know. Like he's got no way of forcing interaction, so I don't think he'd work. I'm not gonna put him in no way because he's quite a well liked character, so they might attempt to do something with him on that basis, but I can't see it working.
Well, I'm fine with that.
All right, Caitlyn. Caitlyn, I think is likely because
I think all arcane characters are at least unlikely
yeah,
based on what they showed
yeah.
in the trailer. They pretty much said, "Oh, we are using their arcane
Yeah, it's like, hey, what is everyone like?
versions."
What is making people talk about League of Legends even if they otherwise have no reason to talk about League of Legends? It's Arcane, so any character that is in Arcane is quite likely to be in. And Caitlyn is similar to Ashe insofar as she'd probably be a good keep out character, the type of one that puts like traps on screen. If I'm gonna find an
At first,
you
I
go on.
was thinking, how would they make ADCs in the game, and then they showed how they made drinks. And I was like, okay, anything can work then.
Yeah.
They are going this way.
Yeah, you don't have to tie the character's power curve in one game to how they work in another. I mean,
I was thinking maybe
look at.
about the range and
I
stuff.
mean, just look at Azir. Azir is a late game monster in League of Legends, but in the card game, you slap him down on turn 3. You put him on the board as soon as possible. He's an early game character. Completely different medium, completely different rules.
Yep.
So, Camille. Camille's a character that I like. I'm probably going to put her in neutral, but I feel like based purely on the functions that she has in League of Legends, she's fairly likely. She'd work well as a mobile rushdown character.
I think she's not as likely as Ash or Caitlyn, but she's definitely more likely than any neutral we have yet. So I would think we can go with neutral, but she would definitely fit gameplay wise. I think.
Yeah, she wouldn't be hard to envision a moveset for.
Especially if they find a way to have her grappling hook work around in the fighting game, like she moves around the screen and stuff. It can be really interesting.
Yeah.
Plus, scissor legs, man.
Yeah. All right, Cassiopeia. It's unlikely or no way.
More unlikely.
Yeah, like again, mage character, most likely to be keep away. I think she'd probably be specifically likely to be the type of character that puts like lingering threats on screen. Like she'd probably have basically she basically have what Miasma is in League of Legends. Only it's specifically covering screen real estate rather than preventing mobility. It would fulfill the same function. It would just do it in a different way.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
Like, the biggest problem I see with her trying to take her abilities from League of Legends and put them in a fighting game is that they kind of are all really ground-based, and Project L, we know, has air dashes in it. So characters that control exclusively ground space, you know, they've got to have some way of interacting with an airborne opponent, and I don't know how you'd really make Cassiopeia do that unless, like, you give her some like versatile tail attacks or something. I don't know.
Long tail for an entire move, like in a curve-shaped move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meh.
Anyway, Cho'Gath, I'm gonna preemptively put in no way because he's too big.
I mean, the too big meme with Ridley in Smash, I don't buy it, but I don't see how you make that character interesting in a fighting game.
The reason why they made Ridley work is because everyone was asking for Ridley for like genuinely like nearly 2 decades, right? He was a fulfillment of fan requests specifically. They made allowances for Ridley. But Ridley, outside of Smash Bros. Ultimate, Ridley is definitely too big to be a playable character.
They mostly picked a non-canon version of Ridley. Basically, they made a Ultimate only designed for that character.
Yeah.
So it's not based on any of his previous appearances.
Yeah. Exactly.
They could do that, but I don't think Riot will go for it for Shoga. So I think it's no way.
Cho'Gath is at least another candidate for the whole like screen-sized unplayable boss character, though. That could be cool.
Oh yeah, if they want a story mode with the void and stuff.
You imagine him just eating bits of the stage. That'd be whack. Cool, but whack. Corki, I'm gonna say, is unlikely because helicopter, but he would be good real estate for weird characters. You know, you could do the Modok thing with him where he doesn't actually jump; he just goes into like a low flight mode.
Yeah, or he can be one of the few characters that can actually move in the air, like move for a short time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's a few characters in this game that could have like a Marvel-style flight mode, but Corki specifically would have that instead of a jump. I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I think unlikely is fine.
Yeah, but unlikely. Like the problem with all the characters that would inevitably be weird characters is that like you kind of have to put them all as unlikely. It's inevitable that there will be some weird characters, but you can't have all of them. You gotta. It's gonna be only like 1 or 2 to start with.
Yeah, it's guaranteed we're gonna get 1 or 2 of them, but each one individually is unlikely.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Diana, I'm gonna put at neutral. Like. There's no reason why you couldn't do her, but I don't think there's any reason why you specifically would do her or other characters.
I think that there are other characters that would do it better, but I think that Camille, when it comes to gameplay, she has a very clear gameplay that can really translate very easily in a fighting game. I mean, she has the dash that goes behind enemies. She can pull them. She has a way to block. She has a AOE curved weapon that can make circle shapes and moves, and yeah, she would definitely work in a fighting game.
Mm.
So gameplay wise, I would say yeah, she's likely, but picking her specifically above like a dozen champion that can do a relatively similar gameplay in a fighting game, yeah, no.
Yeah. Right, Draven. Draven, I kind of instantly want to put in no way because I can't see a world where you can accurately put in the process of juggling axes into a fighting game.
I would tell you this: if they find a good way to do it, and I think that they definitely can, they will put Raven.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm not gonna put Draven in no way specifically because if they find a way to make the whole juggling of axes work, they are going to put him in the game.
Yeah, because I would even go as putting in neutral because I think that they might actually try hard to make it work. Because I think that just the idea of it, I want to try it. I'm not a Draven player. I really love playing Draven in League of Legends, and I hate playing with and against Draven as well. But in a fighting game, I'm really interested in seeing how they could do it, and I think that Riot designers they are likely to try find a way to make it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I
I
can agree
cannot
with that.
guarantee that they will find it. But I think that it's in their book.
I'll put him in neutral. It's kind of a compromise. If they can find a way of making juggling work, they are definitely going to put him in the game. And if they can't, then there's no way that he's going to be in the game. Right.
I think, by the way, the tier list was missing some champions. It was missing Akshan.
Oh yeah, Akshan. Because yeah, they're not all in alphabetical order.
Okay.
He's
Well,
down.
we can do it now
down.
because it's.
I suppose,
it's
yeah. Akshan, I'm not going to put as likely, but I am going to put him at neutral. I feel like grappling hook character is definitely something that has, this space for a grappling hook character in a fighting game.
I would go as far as unlikely because one of the most defining factors of Akshan is the fact that he can revive people, and how do you revive in a fighting game, especially in a fighting game like Project R? It doesn't look like you can have
I'll tell
more
you
than
exactly
one.
how. I'll tell you exactly how that ends
He
up
will
being
revive his ally.
Yeah, that'll be he'll revive his downed ally, probably at the cost of all of his meter. It's been done before. It's in Skullgirls.
Okay,
Valentine has a super meter that costs 5 bars, which is as many as you can carry, but it revives a downed ally. It's very conditional, and it's arguably not even worth spending the meter on, but she can do it. And I feel like that's an easy way of doing the same. It's very easily something that you could give Akshan. I don't. There's probable like lore contradictions because the whole point of the gun is that he revives people by killing the one who killed them with the gun. So
yeah,
maybe that
imagine
work.
your ally get killed by characters A of your enemy, and
Yeah.
then you're playing Akshan and he kills character A, so your characters come back to life, but you can only do it once.
Yeah, like strictly speaking, they could do it, and that's kind of the thing is that because they strictly speaking could do it, I have to imagine that they'll probably try because they already crowbarred him into League of Legends and the card game. In fact, he was out in the card game first.
That's
like,
true. Well, in the card game, it's fine. Units die all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, but you know how many hoops you have to jump through to revive a unit with Akshan in the card game? It's entirely too many. Oh, it's ridiculous. But anyway, fucking yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, very forced character. I don't doubt that they'll try and force him into this. All right, Dr. Mundo. I kind of want to call it likely, and the specific reason why is because I don't feel like this game is gonna come out before we see something out of Arcane Season 2. And I feel like Dr. Mundo is a character that is probably going to get at least a minor appearance in Season 2 of Arcane. And Mundo would be a very good big body character.
So I feel like agree with that he can play... when it comes to big body, he reminds me a lot of Zangief because it's big, looks like it does a bit of the dumb things. He's not really a grappler in League. But...
No, he's more of an infighter. He gets close to you and that's kind of it. The thing though in League of Legends though is he can throw shit. Like, big body characters don't normally have a projectile unless it's got some severe limitations on it. And one of the things about Mundo's cleaver throw is that there's not much of a limitation on it. Like, you pretty much, as long as you've got health, you chuck the thing on cooldown. And that's not really what the big body archetype of character does, but they don't necessarily have to give him the cleaver toss. I don't know. But
I think they could give it because it's one of the most known things of Mundo, but I think that they don't need it.
Yeah. But anyway, Mundo's...
I just want to add one other thing of it, that all of the big body, non-armor character in the game, he's probably the one that fits the most.
Yeah. Mundo would fit quite well. And he bonus points because he also fits a secondary class of character, and that's the characters with an install super, you know? He'd have the big buff hyper mode. Doesn't necessarily have to have the health regen, but he could have that. I could see them doing it. But
yep.
Right, Elise. Elise, she's unlikely. She'd be a stance character.
Yeah, but
she'd be like Valkenhayn from BlazBlue, where she's basically two separate characters that transform into one another at the push of a button. But, like, that's the only analogy I really have for her. I can't tell you much more about what I would expect from her if she were put into the fighting game.
I honestly don't expect anything. I think she's just very unlikely, doable but unlikely.
Yeah, doable but unlikely. How about Evelyn? Evelyn's whole invisibility thing doesn't really work in a fighting game.
No, she's definitely more unlikely than the one having neutral.
Yeah.
I can see her work, but unless they want to sell like KDS skins, I don't know why they would choose Evelyn over so many other champions.
Yeah, I agree. All right then, Ezreal. Ezreal, I think. Ezreal's very likely.
He's very likely.
Yeah, definitely putting him in very likely.
He's such a poster child. He definitely is coming.
Like it's hard to imagine a League of Legends product that doesn't have Ezreal in it. I'm surprised he didn't cameo in Arcane. Spoilers. But oh, who cares? Everyone's watched it by now. Everyone. Some people I know have watched it twice by now.
I did. I watched it once myself and once with my mother.
And that's how you get your mother into League of Legends.
No.
No. Don't get your mother into League of Legends. You heard it here
first. She watches a lot of Netflix, so it was easy. But having her play on any kind of game, impossible.
Yeah, right. Okay, but yeah, Ezreal is very likely just because of how popular he is as a character and how easy he is to market.
Plus, he will be like a zoner type of thing that wants to stay away and spam as many things as he can.
Yeah, definite keep away style character. Yeah, Fiddlesticks. No way or unlikely is the. Well, I don't know. Maybe I won't put him in no way because
unlikely.
He is human sized at the very least.
Yeah.
But.
And he fights directly. He might have a fear to push you away. He can drain if you stay nearby, and don't break his armor. His cleaves and stuff and crows. He can fight.
Yeah.
Unlikely though.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those weird characters. So yeah, Fiora is an obvious likely. The rapier character that controls neutral with pokes is such a tried and true type of character, and Fiora is visually exactly that. There's no way that
So you're putting a character whose job is to fight. It's fencing, but it's fighting in a fighting game.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna put her even in very likely. Specifically, like if she's not in the base roster of the game when it first launches, I would be surprised if it takes more than a year for her to get added afterwards.
I agree on the very likely, because I was just thinking which Demacian characters are they likely to choose, because they will definitely have one or two Demacian characters, and she's definitely top 2.
Yeah. And the other one's Lux, isn't it?
No, it's Vayne.
I'm not sure. Well, we'll get to Vayne.
That's my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. Fizz, I'm gonna go with neutral. I don't see any reason why they couldn't do him. But he'd be one of those small, mobile, annoying characters, just like how he is in League. Yeah, that's it. That's Fizz. I don't think I have to say anything more on the matter.
The type of character along with the others, to make people who hate small body type in fighting games cry because your high moves they won't hit.
Yeah, yeah,
If he's on the ground, he doesn't need to guard. He will dodge it.
yeah. Galio is no way too big.
Yeah, same reason I should have.
Yeah, Gangplank. Gangplank, I'm gonna put in neutral because he's kind of like central to his region. Like I can't imagine them putting in another Bilgewater character before Gangplank.
For me, it's likely if you want to pick one fighting game Bilgewater character.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one and you don't want to sell skin with Miss Fortune, then it's Gangplank.
Yeah, yeah. I would expect some weirdness out of him because he does have to have the barrel gimmick.
And if they pick a second one, it's MF because of course boobies. But then Gangplank is the one that has the most recognizable character for this region.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a pirate, and with the sword, the fire. His sword is on fire. He has barrels. I mean,
yeah, you could execute this character very, very nicely in a fighting game, I think, and you could probably make him actually throw the barrel instead of just summoning it from out of pirate hammer space. But yeah, Gangplank would work pretty nicely. I think likely he is a likelihood. Garen, I kind of want to put Garen in likely just because of Darius, really. Like it's such an obvious rivalry. Yeah. You know, like they'd be the Ryu and the Ken of the like moderately big body type characters.
You want your God King Darius skin? Here have the counterpart, so you can sell 2 skins instead of 1.
Yeah, easy.
Likely.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, I think he's definitely a lower.
Yeah, like
chance than the rest. But...
Yeah, because Garen's just a dude with a sword. Like he's gonna have a spin move, but that's like the only thing that you can really guarantee from him.
Just like spin move characters, especially Soul Calibur is a 3D, but spin moves are a good move for noobs because it covers what noobs do. Is usually spam the iron art you move on the side, and so it covers that. So yeah, he can be a good newbie looking character.
Yeah, but this is a 3D fighting game, so the value of the spinning is probably going to be considerably diminished because it's the wrong type of spinning.
If they do it like they do in League of Legends, you press one button, you spin, so you have a lingering hitbox, which noobs are very happy to have.
Yeah, that's true enough. But yeah, just because of the lore, I think that Garen is fairly likely. Basically everything I said about Elise applies, but there's even less control, so Gnar is definitely not from a mechanics perspective purely, Gnar is less likely than Elise, but I wouldn't put him in no way.
Yeah, same. He's fine there.
Yeah.
Likely.
Gragas. Gragas is another type of character that could easily be a big body. Yeah, that's really...
I think Gragas, is a good neutral here. It can work.
Yeah.
There are probably better picks, but it can work.
They probably wouldn't go to him immediately, but yeah, there's no reason why he'd be less likely than anyone else. Graves. I don't know about Graves.
For me, I would go likely Graves. Because he's a character that, as you can see that in the last 3 years, Riot used that character in every occasion they had.
Oh yeah.
Cutscenes, short stories.
Yeah. Graves shows up all over the place. He's definitely one of the favorites over at the both the developers and the story writers, and so yeah, I think that's fairly likely. I'm surprised he isn't in the card game. Come to think of it.
Well, they probably didn't find a way to make it work. That stay true to the character.
Yeah.
Oh
well, give it some time, I guess. But yeah, shotgun character. Yeah, it's been done. It can continue being done. Yeah. Gwen.
Yep.
Neutral. Hang on.
Oops. You
grabbed Annie. Bleh. Right. Don't grab Annie. Gwen. Gwen. I'm just gonna call her neutral. I don't see a moveset for her, but I also don't see any reason why she'd be particularly unlikely. Like, there's there's not any like hugely unique challenges with implementing a character that is just a human with scissors, essentially.
Yep. I totally agree on that.
Yeah. Right, Hecarim, I'm just gonna put in no way. Lore-wise, he's too big, and game. Otherwise, I don't think like the centaur body type has ever really been done in a fighting game. Apart from like boss characters, like there's Motaro from Mortal Kombat 3, but he was an unplayable boss character, and I don't think he's ever been a normal
will
playable character.
I will spoil ahead a bit, but I think that Lilia is the more likely than Hecarim to be in the game if they want a Centaur-shaped character.
Yeah, well,
Because she's
Lilia's got the
smaller
benefit of being human-sized.
and she also plays around, getting around you, spacing out and stuff. Where Hecarim, he needs to charge on you, but I don't know how you make it work in a 2D fighting game without just being boring and dumb.
Yeah.
And that's me, because Red can surprise us, but
yeah, there's plenty of these characters that could definitely be surprising. Heimerdinger and Alawi I'm actually going to do at the same time, because they, as far as I'm concerned, they're kind of the exact same thing. It's just that one of them would be a small body and the other one would be a big body. But ultimately,
Heimer in neutral for two reasons. One, because he's a very good wheeler character compared to most other, and two, he's arcane.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But specifically, the reason why I wanted to do them at the same time is because I think ultimately their gameplay would be very similar to what Jacko's is in Guilty Gear Xrd, where you just put stuff on the screen and it does most of the work for you. You know.
I would go with Ilawi to say she should be neutral, because they won't go the way she's implemented in League, but more the way she's implemented in the Ruin King game, and she doesn't wait for tentacles to spawn, and so she makes them spawn during the attack, and then they stay around visually, but that's it.
Yeah, like she wouldn't just passively summon tentacles. She would have to put them down with a special move or something.
No. It's literally she uses them as a visual, and that's it.
Oh. Well, the thing is, if they go that route with her, then I'd probably put her in neutral. But I can't imagine them wanting to decouple her gameplay entirely from, putting tentacles down to help her control space.
Yeah, they could. I think they pretty much the way she was used in other media is pretty much clear that they don't. The fact that she has to place tentacles and stuff is not part of her identity, not to the point of going for it outside of League, because it's a different game.
I suppose. Okay, in that case, I'll probably move her to neutral then. Right, Aurelia.
Very likely, man. I mean, she's literally a blade dancer. Ionia. There's not much Ionia characters yet outside of Ari, and Akali is almost a guarantee. Fine favorite. She's literally moving blades around her to attack.
Yeah,
she's moving the blade.
Yeah, she'd probably do pretty well in terms of movesets. I actually kind of think that there's a possibility they might go the Dalsim route with her. They could definitely use the whole maneuvering of blades to create a long limbs archetype out of what she's got.
I think they should do is melee type character, so she doesn't have thrust moves or thing that extends that far the range, but she has more range than everybody. It's kind of like they did with League. She has more base range than any.
Yeah, but what I specifically have in mind is a character like I'm referencing a boss here, but this definitely could be done for a normal player character, and that's Zero from King of Fighters, who has a lot of attacks where he kind of like uses this bladed coat, and they extend his reach, and they have like a lot of hits in the move, but like. I think that would work pretty well for Aurelia's blades. I think she could totally just like whip all 6 of them at you, and you have to block 6 hits. Like they'd all obviously each be individually quite low in damage, but I think that it would definitely allow her buttons to control a lot of space. I think that they definitely could go the long limbs route with her in terms of what archetype she fulfills.
I think more like I have a zone around my body that you have to go through first.
Yeah,
I can use for slightly ranger normal attacks.
Long limbs characters tend to be zoning focused, but they don't do their zoning by throwing stuff at you. They do it because their buttons just have long reach.
Not zoning, more like spacing. You hit her, like your normal melee character hits something at like 50 centimeters. She just hit at 60.
Well.
So you have to always get slightly closer, and she wants to give you slightly further,
Well,
but not to
yeah,
the point where she stands half a screen
that's
away.
precisely what long limbs characters do. They control neutral at a range that most other characters can't compete with them at. Like,
But they still get outranged by actually long range characters that stay away and spam things.
well, kind of. Like the two big weaknesses of the long limbs character are either the character that that is pure keep out that isn't long limbs, and the character that is high speed rush down. So basically, the type of character that I expect Akali to be. So yeah. But yeah, I think Irelia's like popularity, if nothing else, makes her likely, and the fact that you could do what I've described with her makes her kind of a shoe-in for an archetype that currently doesn't have many candidates. So yeah, I'd say likely. I'm just barely not putting her in very likely.
Well, I would put her in very likely. So
Yeah.
if we mix both our opinions, she could be in very likely. Well, you have the control of the mouse, so you decide what.
I'm not doing it. It's my tier list. I decide where she goes. Let's put a zero in very. Let's put a zero in very like nah. All right. Anyway. Right. Ivern. I think.
The unlikely or no way is just like.
I'm gonna go with no way. I like. I can't see them putting him in a fighting game because he's too passive.
He won't fight, actually, that's why.
Yeah, like his whole shtick is supposed to be very pacifist. Like he literally wouldn't fight. It's yeah, I can't imagine them designing a gameplay that's in character for him that actually forces him to engage with the enemy. It's the same problem that Braum has, but the difference is that Braum can fight. Ivern just
Braum will fight if you provoke him.
If you fight Braum will fight you. If you fight Ivern will politely ask you to stop.
Yeah. Or yeah, no way.
Okay, Janna, I'm gonna say neutral. She's a very obvious keep out mage type character if she were to be put in the game. She's also originally from Zorn, so she kind of has the potential marketing benefit of perhaps appearing in Arcane Season 2. I don't really have much else than that. I sure as hell hope that she doesn't end up being basically just a function of Storm in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's a ridiculous character. Let's just not copy her wholesale, please.
Well, Storm can do more than Janna does in their respective universes.
Yeah, but there's no reason from a lore perspective that they couldn't just slap Janna in and give her an 8-way air dash and a fuckload of projectiles.
Hey,
you know,
you need to have eagles play the game as well.
That too. If you were to make Janna a storm function, she'd actually be quite difficult, and Janna is one of the most brain dead support to play in League of Legends, so it wouldn't really mesh. Right, Jarvan I actually think is unlikely, mostly because I don't think there's a real way that you could do the flag. Although they didn't really do the flag in the card game, I suppose.
No, I mean, the flag is not really his most defining trait. His most defining trait is his ultimate that creates walls. That's what is used in his cutscene in Legend of Runeterra. He jumps and he says, "Oh, fall Demacia, bro."
Yeah, but that works because in that game, your abstraction of the wall is the challenge keyword. In this game, it's like, yeah, I can raise the ring, I can put you in the box, but like this is the other kind of two-dimensional game, the one where you can jump. You know, like.
He's the type of bruiser that can work in anything that needs him to fight. He can work in a fighting game, he can work in a mobile, he can work in a hack and slash issue. He would be playable. Doesn't mean that it won't be good.
Okay,
that's why I'm like neutral, but neutral with like very neutral. You can do or not one man.
Yeah, Jarvan's like ultra neutral.
and the next one being Jax, I would put Jax in the same category. He can fight.
Yeah.
The way you want it to fight. It's a blank sheet. You do whatever you want with them. They're not tied to what they use in League or in other media. You just want him to use his weapon. That's it.
Yeah, he's just going to be a dude with a stick. Or
Yeah.
a lamppost, specifically. Like, I don't
As
know.
I put in neutral not because it's impossible for Vojavan and Jax, but because you can do anything you want with them. It can be great, and you can just use anything else as well. Doesn't matter.
Right, Jace is very likely for obvious reasons. He's in Arcane. He's becoming a poster boy. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if
I
I would
have to
put in
justify
very
it more than
likely.
that.
I personally would put in likely, but yeah, for the same reason as Caitlyn, probably just a bit better. No, I think he's more likely than her because
Yeah.
he probably has a more interesting weapon in his hammer that can change shape. Can
Yeah.
be a hammer, can be
He can be a bit more of an all
whatever
round
weapon it
character.
is.
That you can have a lot of all rounders in your fighting game. You can't necessarily have a huge number of specific archetypes. And the thing about Caitlyn is that she's kind of competing in the keep away character space with Ashe, who I think is also very likely. Jace doesn't have to do this, so he's a very obvious shoe in. I'd be surprised if he isn't in the base roster.
Yeah, okay, he's very likely or likely.
Yeah. Okay, Jin's a very popular character. Everyone loves Jin. I think he's an obvious keep away type character. The thing is, I think he'd the way I envision him how he would be in a fighting game, he'd probably end up being very similar to how I envision Caitlyn. So he's directly competing with her, even more so than Ashe. But that doesn't make me think that he's any less likely. I think he's a character that they would probably try and include as soon as possible, if not immediately.
Or compared to her, she has the problem of being a unique character, and there are many good candidates. While for Freljord, it's mostly Ash and two other.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's necessarily going to be a huge amount of rhyme or reason in terms of faction representation, because some factions just have more characters that would be unsuitable for a fighting game. Like, I feel like there's a lot of Shadow Isles characters that wouldn't really mesh well in that kind of plane. Kai'Sa, however, is not one of them. I think Kai'Sa, for marketing reasons, she'd probably end up being quite likely because she's a very generously marketed character. But I'm probably just going to put her in neutral for now because,
I would agree on both likely and neutral personally.
yeah,
I think that there is a lot of room to do something really unique and really interesting with her in a fighting game. I mean, it's gonna be shown in game, and you can see that her suit can do whatever. But yeah, outside of like going for selling that ass, I don't really know why they would specifically pick her unless they find a very good idea to go with her.
yeah,
So
like,
neutral is fine for me.
yeah,
Like, but I think that if they kind of like Draven, if they can find a way, they will go for it. But more likely to find a good way than
yeah,
Draven, who needs more work.
yeah. Callista. Callista is funny you should that you were just talking about Draven, because Callista is another character where she specifically has an idea attached to her that if they can implement very well, she'll probably be a very obvious character to include, and that's specifically the fact that it's a 2-on-2 fighting game. And in League of Legends, she picks a teammate, stabs them, and they basically become bonded for the rest of the match. You could definitely do like a lot with some specific tag mechanics with Callista because she's bonded to her
Yeah.
partner character. You know, if they can
Oh
find
yeah,
if
I
they can
can
find
definitely
something
see
good to
that.
do with that, then I 100% expect that Callista will get put in the game. If they won't, if they don't do that, then I'd call her less likely.
Plus, when it comes to her lore and stuff, nothing forces her to be a range character, so there is a lot of room on how she actually fights that you can go for. She's only known to actually be when she was alive, she was actually a soldier, so she knows how to fight. So
Yeah,
yeah, you can. There's a lot of room for the gameplay and the tag system. Oh yeah, that can be really interesting.
yeah. Karma would probably be another keep away type character, and I'm probably mostly going to put her in unlikely compared to most other characters neutral, because I don't see her, like, she's not the type of character I envision her fighting hand to hand in any capacity. You know, like I just
Eh,
can't. I just can't picture Karma throwing a punch. This character
Yeah,
doesn't punch,
yeah.
and she doesn't hold a weapon. So, eh, it's like that. That's that might be a really shallow reason, but that's pretty much entirely why I think she's unlikely.
I think that she can be another mage character if you want that, but that's very generic. So yeah, no, I'm not sure on that. Your pick.
Karthus. Yeah,
I
basically
would go for
same.
unlikely.
Yeah,
Uh,
basically same.
because what defines Carthus is I don't die, and how do you make that in a 2D fighting game, even in 3D? I mean,
You
unless you're playing
basically can't.
the only way it could work would be in a platform fighter, but that's an entirely different game.
Mm. All right, Kassadin. I feel like Kassadin's just kind of
Yeah.
neutral. Like, he'd be the teleport pressure character, you know. But I feel like for some reason I get this dreading feeling about Kassadin that if he were to get put in the game, that he'll probably be like the same kind of balance problem that Zero is in Marvel 3. Like he'd probably just become ridiculously dominant because they'd have to give him some. They'd have to make Riftwalk his central tool, but they'd have to make it really good because that's kind of his entire identity as a character. Is he does the teleport
Oh,
thing.
have you played back then the Clash of Ninja Naruto games on the Wii?
No.
Well, in this game, in one of them, Itachi had a teleport that cost no chakra, had no cooldown, and was only reactable by like a dozen frame, and he would teleport behind you, so you had a dozen frame to know that he will use a no lag, no starting lag. You had
Yeah, that's
some
exactly
travel
what
lag,
I'm picturing. Like
no one lag,
Kassadin
TP
would
that
just be
costs
the
no resource.
ambiguous teleport mix-up character.
And unless you are like a top player that could reliably turn in time and block, he will just pressure you and you would be able to do nothing.
Yeah, like
And so I'm kind of have some PTSD. I mean,
yeah.
I was a child when I played
There's
this game.
there's no specific reason why they couldn't do him purely from a lore perspective, but there's no specific reason why they would do him because I feel like Kassadin is not really a character even in League of Legends. He's literally just a function. He's funny teleport man. He teleports fast, often, and that's it. Like,
I also feel like this character is likely to get reworked in the next years, like next 5 years, and they might just decide to use something else.
oh
But
well.
at the same time, the way they implemented Echo, I'm hopeful they can do it with Kassadin and be good.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, that's a solid neutral from me. Kale. Kale. I'm just gonna put in unlikely because I really don't know how they would do anything with her. You know, like unless they do like a
Yeah.
multi-stage install super character that has to like spend 3 meters successively in order to become like the most powerful version of the character. Like maybe they could do it. She'd totally be good as an install character, but again, she'd be one of those characters that fits into a specific niche archetype, and so there couldn't be too many of this type of character. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm thinking she's unlikely, which pains me to say because Kale is one of my favorite characters. But yeah, I don't see her as likely, and certainly not if she. It's certainly not like within the shorter end of the lifespan of the game.
well, I think you should just ignore the leveling up transformation and stuff because it's not something that she has to do lore wise and
No,
stuff.
no, not strictly speaking,
But
but what I'm saying is that there's a way you could implement that in a different as a different function while still maintaining the visual, which is one of the key parts of her as a character. Like imagine like you have normal Kale, but then you can spend a bar or something to perform a super, and then for a while she is fucking awakened Kale, you know. It's fucking Archangel install or something like that, right? And then that would be the basically the character that she is she's the character that wants to spend her meter not on a big super attack but on a big super mode. That's how I envision Kale's implementation as a character. And besides that, she'd probably be like a reasonably mobile, like kind of all rounder. She'd have probably some fireball. She'd have reasonable reach because of swords, and she'd have probably at least one air dash, if not an 8-way air dash. I'd expect her to have like a double air dash or an 8-way air dash in her super mode.
Wow. I can see you really like her because you went so far in thinking how she would work.
Well, it's just so obvious to me. I mean, the first thought I had was, okay, if they were to try and do this character, like the closest analogy I have to the type of character that starts off really weak but ends up really strong in a fighting game is Phoenix in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, who is, she has like less than half the health bar of the average character, but if she dies with 5 meters, she becomes Dark Phoenix, the best character in the game, who is just ridiculous in every way imaginable. So like that, but like Kale wouldn't thematically fit the whole I have to die with full meter thing. It would probably just be the more obvious I spend meter on the transformation to become ridiculous. I actually kind of want to bump her up to neutral just because I think that's so solid of an idea. Riot, you should be listening to me, all right? Let me design your characters for you. Kane. I think Kane is unlikely purely on the basis that he wouldn't be able to have either of his transformations. Like,
yeah, they wouldn't make sense. So
yeah,
that's pretty much what defined the character. So
yeah, he'd be like what I just described as a like install character, but it'd be like you pick one install out of 2 and you're stuck with that for the rest of the match. That's the only way to make it make sense from a lore perspective.
Yeah,
I
don't
think they could do that.
No, it's not interesting.
Nah. All right, Kennen. I'm just gonna put in neutral because he'd be a small body character. He'd be fast. He'd be mobile. He'd chuck shit at you. I feel like he's kind of competing for the Chip Zanath type character archetype with Akali, and Akali is just more popular. She's more likely to get put in the game to fulfill that archetype.
Yeah, totally fine with that.
Kha'Zix.
For me, Kha'Zix is probably the most non-human character that can appear in the game.
Yeah. I agree.
By a large margin, I think that if they have to pick one monster type, he's the one.
Yeah, he's probably one of the first go-tos. I think Warwick and Kha'Zix are the two like big candidates for monster character.
Warwick is way more humanoid than Kha'Zix.
Yeah, that's the benefit that he's got, but he still kind of fits into the monster territory. But I agree with everything you're saying about Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix, yeah, he's probably a neutral one. He'd be on the faster end of characters. I expect him to have like a double jump. Yeah, maybe a short teleport. I don't know. Just as an abstraction for the stealth mechanic that he has in League.
Let me go a bit forward because I think that Rengar is likely. So I think Kha'Zix is likely as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think those two have a really good monster or thing dynamic that is really interesting because Rengar, he has all the tools you want for making a fighting game kit around. Ferocity is actually a very interesting mechanic to use in a fighting game. If they implement it, which shouldn't be that hard, it could be interesting because you can have short period of burst to increase your damage when you consume it. If they do it the way it's used in Link, because they can do it differently. And Kha'Zix is probably the most interesting monster character because he has a bit of everything that you can use to make a really interesting kit for a fighting. He can throw things. He has moves that are like a bug or whatever that he can use to attack you. He can jump. He can go stealth with his short stealth. He can be used.
Yeah, but I don't expect that every one of these characters' abilities that they have in League to get implemented pretty much as they are. Like I expect Kha'Zix's leap, if he gets put in the fighting game, to be implemented basically in the form of a double jump that he just has. Like Rengar is actually one of the few characters where I can perfectly imagine his existing skill set just being put into the game as is, because his Q is just, here's a special move that does damage. You know, you hit confirm into it. His W can just be a get off me reversal move, and his E is a fireball. You know, like those aren't complex concepts. They can be just thrown in as they are. And his ultimate could just be turned into like basically X-23's level 3 from Marvel 3. I know I keep referencing Marvel, but it's just the easiest thing to draw parallels with. Where it like briefly turns her invisible, and like her next hit that she lands within like a short space of time while she's invisible is an unblockable super attack that does like 30% by itself. It's the type of thing that I think would work very well for visually executing on Rengar's ultimate. But yeah, the last thing I'll say on these two specifically is that if they make a habit of releasing more than one character at a time, I guarantee you that Kha'Zix and Rengar will get added to the game at the same time.
Like they did with Wild Rift.
Yeah.
They released both of them together.
Exactly like that.
And almost as they did in League, because they were just like
they were one after the other. Yeah, a lot. It was funny because people Rengar came out first in League of Legends, and people thought that Rengar was hunting for Cho'Gath because Kha'Zix hadn't been revealed yet. But then they added Kha'Zix, and the rivalry was made obvious. It's Alien versus Predator. Blah, blah,
actually,
blah, blah, blah.
Syndra was released between those two.
Oh. Whatever. I wasn't actually playing back then anyway. I only know the stories.
Yeah, so it was 1 month later instead of 2 weeks later, because it was
whatever.
2012 they released Champion every 2 weeks.
Everyone misunderstood Rengar for a month, and then everything was made clear. Anyway, Kindred. Kindred, I think, is in no way. Actually, no. I'm gonna bump her up
unlikely, because there's a way to make it work. Worf can be used a bit as a kind of Cupid, not really.
She'd probably be a halfway between keep out and puppet character. Is the thing.
Yeah. But it would be very hard to make it work.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to make it work, and even if they did, she'd be in the category. They'd be in the category of weird character. And again, there's only so many of those that you can have in the roster with it, and have it still feel like it's balanced in terms of archetypes. So yeah. Kled, he's at least unlikely. He'd be a weird character. I kind of almost want to put him in no way, just because I don't see any real way that you can make him work as both like Kled with Skull and Kled without Skull, considering that's not something that you are going to have any direct control over as the person playing as Kled.
Or it could be when he's below 3rd HP, it's
he just turns into a different character, is the thing.
Yeah, but that's it. That's why for me it's unlikely. It can be done, but I don't see how
is Kled better? Is Kled better by himself or with Skull? Because if he turns into a better character when he's off Skull, then he's an explicit comeback mechanic character. And if he's worse than he's off Skull, then he's a character that punishes you for losing. So either way, it's not exactly sound design.
I just think it's possible, not saying that it would be good. Yeah. That's why for me it's very unlikely, but not no way. It's like not no comparing to the other 6, he's definitely.
All right, yeah, that's fair. Kog'Maw.
Same. Unlikely. Very.
Yeah, colossally unlikely.
It could work. There's nothing barring them for finding a way, but I don't see it, and I don't see them trying to.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Kog'Maw is the karma problem. Kog'Maw doesn't punch. Like, Kog'Maw does not have limbs that he's going to stick in front of people to do damage. He only spits things. Yeah. That's not going to work in a fighting game.
I mean, have you seen his arms? These tiny things?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's all very well being able to solve the special move problem. That Kog'Maw's got that covered. It's basic, normal attacks that Kog'Maw doesn't really have a way of executing. Yeah,
well, there's not much to say about.
Yeah. All right, LeBlanc.
Neutral for me.
Yeah, solid neutral for me as well. I think that she would be she's a mage, but she's like an assassin mage in League. I feel like she'd be more rushdown mix-up character. She'd probably be specifically a Vortex character. She knocks you down and then 50-50s you on wake up for the entire match until you lose. But she would be really weak on defense. Like, she'd have to defensively teleport, and that's about it. That'd be her only option. That's how I envision LeBlanc. She'd be...
I think that on that gameplay, Zed with his shadows would be a better pick.
Yeah, but Zed might have the function of being able to leave the shadow in place, like some minor puppet aspects. I don't really see LeBlanc as having that. But she could also have, like... There's not many fighting game characters that have, like, a decoy move, but LeBlanc could have a decoy move, purely from a defensive perspective. They could do that with her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right, Lee Sin.
I would go as far as say he's very likely.
Yeah.
Like, no way they don't put the fighting character of the game. Like, he's into a fighting game.
Yeah, he's kind of almost too perfect.
And they can go with they can make him a Shoto. It's like he has the fireball. He can kick things. He can. They just.
They'd easily find a reversal move to give him. Yeah, like. I don't know. I hate Lee Sin. I don't want him to be in this game, but he's gonna be in this game. He's so popular.
You hate Lee Sin in League? Do you hate Lee Sin in Legends of Runeterra because it's worse?
He's fucking stupidly overpowered in Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I don't know. Lee Sin poisons everything he touches. I don't want him in this game, but he is going to be in this game. All right,
almost a guarantee right now.
Yeah, it's a nigh on guarantee. All right,
but they can do anything they want with her. Leona, same as Diana, is like you can give her a gameplay. I think if they go with Leona, they should make her less of like the tank she is and more of the warrior she's supposed to be.
She'd probably be the type of character that bulldogs you, you know? Like, she walks in slowly, but she does walk in. In fact, she'd probably specifically have a mechanic that allows her to just walk through fireballs just so she can keep pressing forward. But I wouldn't expect it to be particularly fast.
She could they could make a gameplay where she uses her shield and she moves forward, she takes reduced damage and she has super armor.
Yeah, she'd essentially be a big body that isn't actually a big body.
It's big armor.
Yeah, big armor. She'd be like Kanji in Persona 4 Arena, except specifically how he is in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Because in that game, he's the only character in Persona 4 Arena that kind of fits the big body archetype, but by the standards of the big bodies in BlazBlue Tag, he's not big, but he's definitely a big body character. Like, that's how he plays. That's his archetype. It just so happens that every big body from every other game that's represented in BlazTag is bigger than him. Like, considerably bigger than him. Like, there's big bodies and there's big bodies, you know? And, like, I expect Blitzcrank, Mundo, those are the big bodies. Leona would be a big body. Just big, lowercase b. Lowercase b, big body.
Oh, I mean, you remember, so when they asked what was her height, she's like 185 or something. So she's big in a way. I mean, if you find...
but she's not like, you know, a hulking mass big, you know? Like...
I mean, yeah, compared to Darius or Mundo, she's not that big.
Exactly.
Well, she's kind of like the Brienne from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and same thing applies to Diana and Leona that applies to Kha'Zix and Rengar. If they add characters more than one at a time, expect Diana and Leona to be added simultaneously.
Or just back to back.
Or back to back at the very least. Right.
In
anyway.
the same season pass.
Yeah. Lilia. We briefly mentioned Lilia before about with Hecarim. Lilia is far more likely than Hecarim though, because Lilia is at least human-sized. Yeah.
But still unlikely.
Still unlikely, but more likely than Hecarim, like considerably.
She can be a fun weirdo character as well.
Yeah.
And I think that if they keep her League gameplay, she will be around spacing her spinning things and stuff. And
I'd be more comfortable with her sleep mechanic in a fighting game because I'd expect her to have to spend meter on it, is the thing. And
the sleep. It's important that she can make people sleep because it's her own story. She's a sleep creature or dream creature. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But at that point, it'd basically be very similar to the time stop in JoJo's Heritage for the Future. but possibly even with the
Rudolph.
or specifically the Axel's time stop in Guilty Gear Strive, actually, because that even has the prerequisite that he has to like activate it before he actually stops time. But I suppose in Lilia's case, it's more just that she has to tag you first. You know, she has to hit you with something so that you have the debuff. And debuffs in fighting games are actually surprisingly common, but like, well, I don't know, maybe not surprisingly common. Maybe that's the wrong word for it, but like, they're not out of the question. Like Tega has one in BlazBlue, and Kai has one in Guilty Gear.
They're unusual but not unknown.
Yeah, they're unusual but not out of the question. Lilia would be the type of character that has that mechanic. Lysandra. Ice character is like it's kind of a visual archetype, but it is an archetype nonetheless in fighting games. Like all of the functions that you expect out of, say, Sub-Zero, Lysandra could have. The biggest
I think she's just another of those mages you need to find a way to make work, but if you do, then there's no problem, but there's a little incentive for it.
Yeah. Actually, I just thought of something that's very important. Lysandra is a character that I can't imagine jumping.
Oh yeah.
So I'm moving her down to unlikely on that basis, and I'm very tempted to put her in no way. Precisely because seeing Lysandra off the ground would be very, very weird.
I don't see that either. I don't. They can use other incarnation of her, like they did with the arcane version of characters. They can do like, yeah, it's Lysandra, but the old version of.
But she has legs.
Yeah. When she let it go and stuff. Yeah, that was a reference. But yeah. Now that you said that, for me it's very unlikely. Not no way, but like clear.
Yeah. Right. Lucian. Lucian is a very popular character. He's likely.
Yeah.
Lulu...
Oh, it's really from Demacia.
Yeah, also Demacia character. Lulu. Unlikely. Yeah.
Not much to say.
Yeah, and if she was put into the game, she'd probably be more annoying than anything else. Lux.
Yeah.
Lux is also a very popular character, and she's probably likely on that basis alone.
I would tell you something that might sound weird, but I think that Riot had let themselves a card when they can make a more warrior-like version of her. She won't be like her brother, but she can be. But they can find a way to make her more fighty, more.
Spend more time hitting things with the stick.
Spend more time hitting things and agreeing to fight than she previously did.
Yeah.
They've left enough clues for that to be a possibility.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that Lux is fairly likely. Malphite.
And just one more thing about Lux, that if they want mage character, like pure mage, outside of Ari, which seems to be using mostly her movement rather than her magic, then you have one. Malphite,
Yeah, Malphite's too big, no way. Malzahar. Wait, why have I got a really insult? Why does my mouse suck?
Drop a real sort of in its no way tier.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's supposed to be down here. Malzahar, right? No way. No, unlikely. Malzahar, I basically imagine to be the same type of character that Heimdinger and Alawi would be, but Malzahar is even less popular than those two, so I just do not think that he'd be a.
I just pick. Have that Malzahar could be interesting design-wise, visually and stuff, but they would have to create entirely new gameplay elements for him, because Voidling Master could be, but doesn't seem really fun. At least not in a 2D fighting game. I see more working platform fighter than a 2D fighting, and his Malefic Vision and Ultimate just make no sense.
Yeah, they kind of wouldn't. Maokai, I can see being a big body character.
Yeah, Yeah. Oh, you should really. You still haven't played the Rune King game. You should, because he's in the game,
Oh,
and the way he interacts with the characters is like, oh, I want to see more of Maokai. Hey, the Rune King game does what the Ruination even didn't in so many aspects.
I'm sure it does.
And
I'm sure it does.
oh, it should have been released before. That's why it
Hmm.
shows. Um. So yeah, he could fit. Yeah, he has things to fight. He has multiple arms. One of them, the arm is bigger. It can be used for some magic moves. The other one is smaller. Used for faster
Well, it
but
can
very
also just
quick.
be a big limb, you know.
Yep.
Just hit someone with like the Sentinel frying pan type air button. I can see that working. Um, Master Yi, I think is just a solid neutral.
Remember what I said about Jarvan and Jax? There we go. Same thing.
Yeah.
You have
Misfortune.
you have a blank count. I would go unlikely for only two reasons. One, you want a sexy babe to sell skin into your game,
Hmm.
and you want more than one. So she won't cut it. You want more. And second reason, she's kind of an important character in the lore and stuff, and she could have an interesting gun gameplay that's very different from like Lucian, because they're both
Yeah, the problem
dual
though is
wielders.
having too many characters that are just firearm, because there's only so many ways you can have like the firearm be integrated into normal attacks, and Misfortune doesn't even have the benefit of having mobility as a core element of her gameplay in other places that she's been implemented. Her whole shtick in every game is she just shoots. She goes pew pew.
She's a damage dealer in every game.
Yeah,
League
yeah,
damage,
she
CFP, always
probably
damage.
end up being like the closest analogy I'd probably have for her is like Hull Horse in Heritage of the Future. But the thing about Hull Horse is he's also kind of a character that runs away, and Misfortune isn't necessarily a character that runs away. I mean, maybe she is. I don't know. Like, they could make her work for that. But I agree with you that she's likely on the basis of her popularity and her lore importance.
More
Alone.
than gameplay.
Yeah, more strictly than the gameplay. They'll make her work if they want to. Okay, Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser, I'm going to put in neutral. Actually, how big is Mordekaiser in the lore?
Like
Because I'm mostly saying
lore,
this because I'm expecting him to be like large body. But if he's too big, then he's definitely in no way.
Alright, so Mordekaiser, if I remember correctly, he's like very big. More like, how can I say the size is? He's a giant, but not Malphite size.
Hmm.
Let
I'm
me
gonna put him in no way, just to be safe. But like if they did like a slightly shrunk down version of him where he's like got big body proportions, but he's not
tall.
like
8 feet tall. So he's the gamer from Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. If he's like like Gragas or Mundo sized,
That's
then yeah,
2.5 meter tall. So like
yeah,
very
big
big.
body.
I would go unlikely if they. I think this size can be scaled down and not be weird, because
Yeah.
you can take a 2.5 meter titan and make it 2 meters tall. But you need to make a very. He has then if he's in the game, he's the juggernaut.
Yeah.
The big thing that moves extremely slowly, and if you don't block, he takes like a quarter of your health in one move.
Yeah, he'd be another candidate. He'd be a very good candidate, in fact, for unplayable boss character.
I want to see is E in the game that drags you forward and the only way to dodge it is to jump. So it's a skill check for newbies.
I don't know. I don't want there to be too many skill check moves in the game, because ultimately they only have any value at a low level of play. Once everyone can pass the skill check, the move is useless, and that basically means that your character has something that is literally garbage once you get to a higher level. I get where you're coming from, but I would want it to be more powerful than just a skill check.
I think that's fine to have a few characters with skill check fighting games as well,
just
because you want players to pass.
The thing is, even if it were implemented as a skill check, I guarantee you that it would see more use, not by itself, but it would get used as an assist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that could be fine as an assist because you grab people while you're fighting with your main characters. They go straight into your big move.
Yeah, you gotta remember this is a tag fighting game. um, but yeah,
Yes, I would move him to unlikely.
yeah, okay,
Personally, I think
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. And
there's a
there's
way for
definitely
me.
potential for some of his moves. Right, Morgana. Morgana, I'm gonna put in neutral because she's a reasonably popular character, and she has some aspects about her that would make that would be good if implemented with a degree of creativity. Like I can totally see her Black Shield as like a pseudo install super that just makes her like immune to projectiles or something for a short period of time. Other than that, you know, like just give her a fireball, give her like a ground space control move. You know, and unlike some other mage characters, I can actually kind of imagine Morgana engaging in hand-to-hand combat. Like I can't necessarily think of her punching someone, but I can see her slapping someone, and that's good enough.
Slapping, thrusting her hand, and using magic on her hands to hit you
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
And also, if you see Kale in neutral, then Morgana has as many chances to win the game.
yeah.
They won't go one and not the other.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely one of those cases where you wouldn't have one without the other being in the game.
Yep.
Right, Nami. I'm just gonna call it unlikely. She's a fish.
Yeah, unlikely, but I think that it can be another good weirdo character.
Yeah, a good candidate for weird character.
Weird in her style, but I think that in her gameplay, she can
She
be
probably wouldn't
very
necessarily be
interesting.
that unconventional, but yeah, she could probably work if they wanted to make her work.
Yeah.
Right,
Also,
Nasus.
let's not sure.
Yeah, neutral. He'd be a big body character because he's just kind of
Uh,
tall.
I kind of spoiling with Renekton. I think that both. I mean, if you want to go Renekton as well now, I think
Yeah,
that both Nasus and Renekton have a similar chance to be in the game as big body character. They won't exactly play the same. Nasus will be probably more of a ground control, slow character, while
yeah.
Renekton will be
He'd
more
be a
like
space control
fast
character
damage.
who keeps you at bay with buttons. He wants to stay in the range of his buttons and out of the range of your buttons. And Renekton just wants to be in your face. That's exactly how they
Yep.
would be. And again, another pair of characters that it's like you wouldn't have one without the other one. They're going to be in the game at the same time.
I mean, on that regard, just look at what they did with White Rift, and you see how they often release characters in pairs
Yeah,
and make a big event with both of them. I mean, sometimes it's just because they want to add the character, those two characters, and they use that as a pretext. But it's clear it's not intended to be them together. But the Karen Morgana we got this month, and Nasus Renekton was as well earlier. Yeah, yeah, one with the other.
right. Nautilus is too big, so no way, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's like absolutely gigantic.
Yeah, absolute unit. Nico is probably a neutral. Everything I said about LeBlanc having a decoy move, Nico could also have a decoy move. Biggest problem I see with Nico is that she's not exactly she's another probably doesn't punch character. But at the same time, though, the other thing about Nico in terms of creativity is that you could totally have some mechanic with her where she kind of does this like 50-50 where she like fake tags out for her partner, and it's actually Nico, but like you don't know that because visually it looks like the other character is tagged in. That could be used as the biggest problem with that idea is that's thematically sound, but the problem is when you would actually do it, because the most of the time that you would want to do a mix up like that is basically after a hard knockdown. But in that instance, you'd probably still just want to spend the time going in with your point character. You wouldn't tag out so that your other character could do a mix up like this. I don't know. Like it would probably have to be part of some like canned mix-up situation, like after a super or something. Like you can choose to fake tag or real tag or not even tag at all. I don't know. It'd be that it's an idea that's kind of looking for a situation that would make it valid.
I
Um,
think what you're saying is a bit too perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've just talked myself into saying that she's unlikely. She has the doesn't punch problem, and the situation that I just described. While it'd be a very good visual representation of what Nico is supposed to do, I can't practically think of a situation in principle that you would want to do that in a tag fighting game. Right. Nidalee, again, shapeshifting character, unlikely for the same reason that Elise is.
I think that compared to Nar and Elise, she's definitely higher chance, but I think that by definition, it's still already low. It's already low.
Yeah.
I think that if they want one shapeshifter character, they will go for Nidalee rather than Elise or Nar. Doesn't mean that it's likely to.
Yeah. All right. Nocturne.
I'm split. I think it can be neutral or unlikely. I don't see them going that far from him, especially that they want to rework him as well.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna wait for that.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna leave him on neutral. I don't actually have much to say about Nocturne.
For me, it's unlikely.
Okay. Yeah, fair. Let's go with unlikely for now. All right. Nunump. Nunu and Willump. Obvious good candidate for a big body character. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't use them. Yeah.
Well, the Yeti slaps. Nunu can throw fireball, ice ball that work like fireball.
Yeah.
What I mean. Yeah. They can do a lot with that, and it's a character that people recognize. Can be fun character, not that weirdo, but a bit weirdo.
Mm-hmm. And if they keep absolute zero, then it better be unblockable.
No, it can be an ultimate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
The meta.
I mean, if they keep it doing essentially the same thing that it does in League, where big charge up, but like does stupid damage if fully charged. Which would inevitably mean that you'd want like some kind of setup for it. I don't know. Right, Olaf.
You were let me okay. I think he's likely for two reasons. First, because I think that his axe style can, with a big rush down, hitting you in the face style can work with Berserker. I mean, it's literally a Viking that hits you in your face, like the typical Vikings you see in any media. And secondly, we need some failure characters, and he's pretty much the best one outside of Ash that could fit.
Yeah, that's true. He does kind of like share some of his thematic with Tryndamere. Like I feel like the two of them would end up being the same sort of character. In fact, I'm just going to put Tryndamere here as well at the same time.
I think it's a bit of a pick one.
Yeah, it's likely one of these, and maybe the other one gets added quite a while later. But ultimately, both of them would probably end up being the same type of like reasonably long reach, big frame data moves, and. I kind of see Olaf as being more likely just because Ragnarok is a move that he has. So I can see him having an install that just gives him super armor that makes him even harder to defend against because you can't even interrupt him.
I think that Tryndamere is likely as well, because you have Ash in it, and they can once again make pair skins and stuff. But it's.
I see Tryndamere as less likely just because there's less functionally that you can preserve about Tryndamere. You know?
Oh yeah, because his ultimate is pretty much what defines him.
Yeah, but his ultimate is not the kind of thing that you can really put in a fighting game. It doesn't make sense.
Oh, think about
Olaf's ultimate makes perfect sense in a fighting game.
For Tryndamere, think about when you do lethal damage for 5 seconds, he doesn't die.
Maybe.
And after 5 seconds, you need to just do one more damage.
The problem with that is that it would have to be like a passive thing. Like as long as he has like a full meter, he takes damage into his meter.
Oh, just make it so when you take him down to 1 HP, he becomes insensible to damage for a few seconds, and when it's gone, you can actually kill him.
I kind of get that, but like. I feel like that kind of mechanic in a fighting game it'd be too free. People would call it cheese, and it kind of forces you to kill him and then immediately switch gears to play keep away until he's actually killable and then kill him. Like I feel like that wouldn't go well in a fighting game. So yeah.
I think it's doable, but yeah, the more you say, the more I think, yeah, it will be some kind of.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Trinivir is less likely.
It won't create gameplay.
Yeah, but Olaf makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you can have an active rogue now.
Right, Oriana. I'm actually going to say, of all the characters that are a good candidate for puppet character, Oriana is probably the most likely, and she kind of gets the probably will appear in Arcane Season 2 buff of likelihood.
I mean, after seeing the end scene of Arcane Season 1, you're like, yeah, yeah, that's definitely Oriana.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I see her having the most interesting puppet to play.
Yeah.
Outside maybe an Anya and Tibers, but even then, I think that she's better. But I still, when I see Oriana and FC fighting game, I have a PTSD of Smash 4 Rosalina.
Yeah, well, get over it because that's exactly what she would be like.
Yeah, it's okay. It's better in Ultimate.
Yeah. Right.
They have more counterplay. She's another giant.
Yeah, he's another giant character. I'm just gonna put him in no way. I'm not even gonna try and rationalize him. While we're at it, let's just grab Volibear and put him there too.
Is 150 feet tall.
Yeah, there's no way you're reasonably shrinking this character down. It's just not happening.
He's a fucking building.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. No Volibear. Pantheon. I don't know. I feel like
Volibear is on size. Pantheon. I think it can be
likely
likely
just because we haven't said any Targon characters are likely yet, and
I think that Diana and Leona are pretty much in the high of neutral compared to most of what we have here.
That's true.
But if they have to pick one, I will pick Pantheon.
Yeah.
Well, he's literally a Spartan.
Yeah. He
has a Greek accent in the game.
Yeah, he's got some fucking strong imagery associated with him. Pantheon's pretty much a shoo-in. Poppy, I'm gonna go with neutral. Wait, hang on. Why have I got Aphelios? What's happening with my mouse today? Right, Poppy. Poppy's a neutral.
Yeah, she's one of the golders that will fit the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she'd work well enough.
With a small body and big hammer for long range.
Yeah.
Everything that people hate.
She'd be like a dense small character, you know, like possibly she'd be heavier than your average small character, but she would still be quite small. So yeah. You know, similar type of deal as Leona, where she's functionally an archetype that's bigger than her actual character is.
I think that Poppy with her big armor would be more have a more hit from afar, keep you away gameplay. The way I see it, than Leona, who is more like I go to you.
Yeah, she'd be less intending to be in your face. She'd be in the kind of like what I described for Nasus kind of territory of I want to be in the range to hit you with my moves, but just outside of the range to where you can hit me with yours.
Yep.
Alright, Pike. Pike's quite popular, but he's a lot of his moves, they've kind of got some like problems with how they'd be implemented. Like I mean, I guess his E is like the best I can imagine in terms of it being implemented, because if you implement it like as it is in League of Legends in the concept of a 2D fighting game, it would basically be a cross-up.
Which can be very good.
Yeah. So, and then if you cover that with an assist, then you can very easily create unblockable situations. So,
and his Q, the hook, can also be made in the game. It's not as big of a hook as Blitzcrank. It's a small one, so it can be used as a combat closer like they have in Mortal Kombat.
It also does other things, but there's obvious ways you can do stuff with that. His W could just be like a teleport move or something. I don't know.
The main problem is that in every game that he's in the League, it's they used it as well in RuneKig or in Legend of Runeterra. How do you use his ulti?
That is true. That is true. There's not really a good way of using his ultimate. Maybe because it's a tag fighting game, you could say that like he gets a buff if he kills like the point character with his ultimate, so he has an easier
Yeah, but it's
time.
kind of a snowball mechanic rather than anything else. I don't. Not a
Yeah,
big
that's the biggest thing in the way of implementing him, I think.
because you don't really want snowball in a fighting game.
No, you kind of don't.
You don't want much comeback, but combat mechanics are, in my opinion, better.
Yeah, right. Okay, Kiana. Kiana, I'm gonna go with neutral. I feel like she's the type of character that is acrobatic enough to definitely fit into a number of different like versions of the Rushdown archetype, or like the versatile mobility character archetype. I don't have anything specifically in mind for her, but I definitely can see that working. Yeah.
Yeah, plus she reminds me of this Soul Calibur character that has the circle.
Yeah, Tira.
Tira?
Yeah, but the thing about Tira is that she's like a two characters in one type thing. Like her gimmick isn't really the ring blade. Her gimmick is her schizophrenia. Like she's actively two different characters, and you don't strictly have control over when you get switched between one and the other. And one of them is definitely
Kiana
better
has
than
three
the other.
elements.
Kiana has three elements, but the thing is that those are things that are explicitly controllable. But they're also kind of environment interaction, and we don't really have any idea of like the scope of what that would look like in Arcane. So I feel like that aspect of her character would probably be less well tapped into. I don't know. I can see them using her, but I don't necessarily have a specific idea in mind for how they would.
All right, I'm fine.
Okay, Quinn. Quinn, I think is unlikely just because I don't know how they would do.
I will bet money that she will get reworked in League before she appears in the fighting.
Yeah, that's probably a fair statement. Let's go with that. Rakan. I don't know. Wait.
All right. So here's the thing I have. I see Rakan. I'm very skeptical of seeing Rakan in the fighting game, but not Zaya. And I think that if they have one, they have both.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem, isn't it? Is that this is a pair of characters that has to be a pair of characters. But like, yeah, I have a much harder time imagining a fighting game moveset for Rakan than I do for Zaya.
But I have no problem seeing Ass's gameplay for him.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is his whole support set is the kind. He is an assist character first and foremost. He's not a character that wants to do the fighting himself. I don't know. Like, it's a weird one.
But I think we can reasonable to put both in neutral. But I think that for Rakan they will have to be creative, while for Zaya the favors is already good. Having to use your moves that can place favors and then you can move them around is very good.
Yeah.
But you want both.
Yeah.
At least because you will be able to sell the fact that they can assist each other and stuff. Even if they don't get bonus like they do in League, because it kind of will be broken if they do in a game that's only played by two characters.
Well, it depends on how hard they force the synergy. I mean, it's not like there aren't other games with forced synergy in them. I mean, Tekken Tag has the rage mechanic where that is variable depending on how well the two characters you're choosing fight like each other. So like.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a good idea because it creates a thing to balance, not because of how you implemented gameplay, but because you added a buff.
Yeah,
basically it's
like it's not something it's not something I'm saying I want them to do, but it's not something I'd put it past them because it's not like they don't already have forced synergy in their kits already.
Yeah, but in League it's fine because it's 2 characters out of 5. Here it's 2 characters out of 2, and you control both.
I don't know. I'm just gonna leave them in neutral and say no more. Rammus is unlikely. Okay.
It's unlikely. Arfu, I would love to see it.
Yeah, if they can make Rammus work, good on you. But
And they should give him his French voiceover in every language.
No, he should have he should only say three
Oh,
things, okay? And those should be
yeah.
okay, yeah, and alright. Alright? Rek'Sai's too big, no way.
Rek'Sai is I don't think Rek'Sai is as big.
It's not like Rek'Sai isn't as big as like Nautilus or Malphite or Ornn or Volibear, but Rek'Sai's too big, okay? Right?
30 feet, she's too big.
Yeah, definitely too big. Rel, I think, is unlikely because mounted character. Same problem as Kled, basically. The only difference being that she would have some direct way of switching between the mounted and unmounted states, but I can't see her working.
Yeah. No.
Riven, I think, is likely.
No, she's very likely.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
She was made to mimic some fighting game mechanics.
She was made to mimic Marth in Melee. Melee isn't a fighting game, and Marth therefore isn't a fighting game character. But Riven is the Rekka character of League of Legends. All right, if there is going to be a Rekka character in the League of Legends fighting game, it's going to be Riven.
It was Marth that they were trying to.
She was specifically made to mimic Marth. Yeah.
More. Oh, the dancing blade.
And that's because Marth's side B is a Rekka.
I don't really. Okay, alright. I see where
you know what a Rekka is, right?
What?
You know what a Rekka is?
No.
Okay.
I think I know, but not
it's any special move that you input multiple times to get multiple follow-ups. Its name comes from Fei Long's Rekka Ken in Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2. Every Rekka that exists is basically derived from that. Relento's Patriot Circle, fucking all of them. Okay, Abel's Change of Direction. I don't have to name anymore. Okay, like just point is Riven is the Rekka character of League of Legends. She'll be the Rekka character in Project L.
Oh yeah, and plus she's very popular and stuff. The way she moves and fights, especially because the Riven we have in League is like the 2011 Riven, but the way she has been shown in cutscenes and stuff later on,
it's a much more graceful appearance because it isn't made using literally decade of graphics technology.
It kind of shows her move more.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, she has both quick and precise moves and big damage.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room. If they want to start the game, which is a good pick as well.
Yeah, alright. Rumble, I want to put in neutral, but I also kind of almost want to put in likely, and the specific reason why is because of who this game is being made by. It's being made by the Cannon Bros, and if there's one game that you know about, if you ran EVO for years, it's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And if there's one character in League of Legends that I think would do perfectly as a Sentinel function, it's Rumble.
Yep. Why specifically Rumble?
Because he's got the mech suit. I think that you can make that visually just kind of replicate a lot of Sentinel's moves. You can give it a low flight mode, and you can make it not last very long, specifically because the mech is, it's a bit scrappy. It's haphazard. There's a lot of visual flavor that you can add by making Rumble's mech suit do all of Sentinel's things. I can genuinely imagine just about everything that Sentinel does being done by Rumble's mech. It's not hard.
I don't really see Rumble work like Sentinel.
I see it perfectly. He's got a flamethrower. He can just do a big fire move for bloody Plasma Storm. He can do like a fire charge in the air for hard drive. Maybe Sentinel Force is the only thing I can't imagine him doing. But like all of Sentinel's signature attacks, the frying pan, the stomp, the flight canceling, everything that Sentinel does, I just very easily can just substitute out Sentinel and substitute in Rumble. I think it's easy enough to where I can't imagine that hasn't occurred to the developers of Project L. So I kind of want to put him in likely for that reason alone, but I can't count for certain that what I'm thinking of is exactly the same thing that they're thinking of. So I'm gonna leave him in neutral. if it weren't for the specific line of thought, I'd probably have put him in unlikely.
Personally, I follow you on neutral. Was sure you compare it to Sentinel. I haven't had the most experience with MVC2. Yeah, for that day has missiles stuff.
Like, I don't know.
I don't think that the Sentinel archetype really fits Rumble really, but yeah, it can be done.
Yeah.
That's
all I'm saying is, if they add Rumble to the game and he looks like Sentinel, I fucking called it. Right. Rise is I'm gonna go with unlikely. Again, it's a mage that doesn't punch, so there's like no normal attacks that you can imagine for this character. But other than that, he just kind of chucks magic at you. So like he's not any less likely than Karma or Karthus. You know?
Yeah, I think he has bonus point for being literally named after one of the founders of Riot Games, but that didn't make him show up much in other games than League.
Yeah. The other thing is his gameplay identity is kind of too fluid because he's been reworked too many times.
Not really, because he still has things. He still throw magic at you. He still
has Rune Prison. He still has Overdrive.
But he, outside of being himself, he isn't really that flagship. He doesn't have anything in his kit that you cannot find in more suitable characters than
yeah, he's not ubiquitous enough. All right.
I mean, they pick Rise above most of the majors that are in neutral. I would be surprised.
Yeah. All right, Samira. I'm just gonna say likely just because she's Dante.
Yeah, I mean,
she's Dante.
They didn't even pretend she wasn't inspired by Dante from the DMC. So,
yeah.
Yeah. If there is Dante in MVC, there is Samira.
Yeah. No. It's not hard. Right. Sejuani. Why does this keep happening? Fuck. All right. Sejuani, I think, is unlikely because Sejuani, she fights mounted. Okay, like that's not something you do in a fighting game. We've been over this.
Yeah, especially because something that's not really clear when you look at Sejuani in game is that Bristle is supposed to be very big. It's more visible on Legend of Runeterra.
Yeah.
This boar is like 4 meters. So
yeah,
it's
big boar. Yeah, like not gonna fit on the screen. No, it's not gonna work. Okay. Senna. Actually, unless they somehow find a way to make Sejuani fight off the board, which I totally wouldn't mind. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but she's seen with it in almost every.
She's never seen without it, so it's not gonna happen. All right, Senna. I'm just gonna put in neutral. Like it's hard to separate Senna and Lucian now, but like Senna wasn't always in the game, so. You know, like I feel like it is definitely possible to have Lucian without Senna, but it'd be very weird to have Senna without Lucian.
They can make a fresh Senna.
I suppose they could, which is
like in Legend of Runeterra, they used to have only pre-fresh Senna.
Yeah, and then they added her as a champion, and she's she's a different region.
She would just be Lucian too, so
yeah. I don't know. I don't see her as being as likely as Lucian, because I think Lucian's kind of general like the things he does in his like fighting style, if you could call it that, in League of Legends, I think fit easier into a fighting game than Senna. Senna carries too big of a gun.
Yeah, I say. Having big weapons on big characters is fine. Having Riven having her big characters once in a while, her big sword once in a while is fine. Like, but Senna and her humongous gun.
Yeah, like I can only see this working if they make her like Cable, you know, Cable in Marvel 2. That's another iconic Marvel 2 character that they could probably find a function for. That's like the only thing I can think.
Yeah, but Cable gun is normal size.
No, he has like a big rifle that he just pulls out when he needs to. Like
but he pulls out during a move. It's like, oh, this move uses a big gun.
Senna always carries the gun. Yeah, I don't know. That's the biggest thing that's preventing it. But like, I can totally see Senna having a super move that is just Hyper Viper Beam. Like that would work very well.
But something I didn't say, but I think that they might later be fine with it. Maybe in future updates of the game is maybe have assist only character. And in which case, Senna is definitely going to appear.
Okay, that's a reasonable idea, but like the only other game that I can think of that exists that has assist-only characters is Marvel vs. Capcom 1, where you pick 2 characters to fight with, and then you have like a third character that you pick who is only an assist. The problem with that is that there are very clearly some characters that are good as assists, and there are some characters that just aren't. Most of the assist characters in Marvel 1 are trash, and as a result, most competitive matches that you will see of that game, and there aren't that many because that game is somehow even less balanced, or just less. It's more busted than even other Marvel vs. Capcom games because there's like no infinite prevention whatsoever. But the assists that get picked most often are Colossus and Sentinel because they are just bodies that charge through the screen with infinite super armor. So they like, yeah, like if there's gonna be assist only characters, we need to not have that. Okay.
So it's a big deal with it.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Sentinel, that's another place where Sentinel's name pops up.
That's true, that because assist-only characters have the problem of you don't have to play as them.
Yeah, so you just pick the assist, which is generically
they are just one more summoner spell for your main character.
Which is why the assists were done better in Marvel 2 and 3, because you pick characters and then you have to work around what assists they have available to them.
And was the reality
Skullgirls took this logical extreme where you can genuinely pick any move that a character has as an assist, but ultimately you do still have the limitation of moves that character has, and there aren't. It's not as obvious as you might think. Anyway, yeah. Seraphine, I think, is unlikely, but it's not like her type of character hasn't been done before. After all, Risei Kujikawa is playable in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, so yeah, that's a thing. Set. As far as big body characters with probably with command grabs go, I think Set is probably the most likely.
I would just on Seraphine, just one thing is that Risei, at least in Persona 4, the base material, she's seen as herself. Seraphine's always seen on a platform, and I think this thing is a big problem.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big problems with implementing her. But yeah, like I feel like they just did that because they wanted her to like constantly look like she's on a stage, which she just fucking doesn't. I don't know, like Seraphine's a really poorly realized character as far as I'm concerned. They forced her just because of the KDA promotion. She doesn't really belong in League of Legends, and I wouldn't say that she belonged in the fight. She belongs in the fighting game either. But the type of character that she is has been done, so I wouldn't put it past Riot to do it.
Yep. So Set.
Yeah, Set.
Oh, definitely likely or very likely.
Yeah, Set I think is the most likely of the big body type characters that we've discussed so far. He's got the stature. He's got a fucking command grab in League of Legends. It's his ultimate.
You wanted a grappler? Here is your grappler.
Yeah, here is the grappler. All right, Set is a very likely grappler character in Project L.
He has 2 grappling moves in League of Legends.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
And then the rest is punching stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
What else do you want?
Yeah, exactly. And you can even make his fucking lariat into a reversal. It just works too well. He's so obvious. I'm tempted to move him up to very likely even just because of how much sense it makes.
Plus the JoJo references.
also that. Yeah. Okay. Shaco. I'm gonna say neutral. He's got a short. He's got a short teleport. He can throw knives. He can put traps down on the screen. And I
put Shaco in the LeBlanc tier.
Yeah, it kind of goes in the same category that LeBlanc and Nico does. There's only like there's only going to be one of them, at least quickly, you know.
Yeah, because it would be problematic that too many, because it's granted that too many at launch, some of them would be uh mostly going to be degenerate. So
Yeah. Right. Shen. Shen, I'm gonna go with neutral. He's another candidate for puppet character because of the way he controls the sword, like the spirit sword. Um, I don't know. I kind of figure that he'd be like a turtle-ish character. He's definitely of the more defensive sort, I think. I don't know. I can't really imagine him beyond that.
I'm interesting in Shen because I don't think the moving the blade thing is probably not necessary. The moving, not using the moving. But they can make a melee defensive fighter, in a sense that he fights you directly, but he wins not because he has more damage or better frame data, but because he, at the same time that he attacks you, he managed to block or avoid many things. Like with his
Yeah.
W, you're
Yeah,
gonna have some gameplay around
I
it.
can
The shield
totally
has
see him having a
you.
move that just blocks projectiles, and so his entire game plan would just be: I do some damage to you, I get the life lead, and then I back off and force you to come to me because you have to come fight me, otherwise I'm gonna win it by time over. I can totally see that being Shen's entire game plan. It'd be very lame, but like that you can play around with that.
Yeah, I also I think that well, let's be honest right now. When we get to Z, Z is going to be like. I think that if you have a Kali as well, then yeah, Shen can fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that he's less likely than.
Mm.
Well, for me, likely would be fine as well.
Mm.
It's up to.
I suppose it depends on how much they want to do with Ionia. Right.
Yeah.
Shyvana. If there's any character that I think would be a good candidate for an install character, it would definitely be Shyvana, because it would be literal dragon install.
Okay, so here is I have a big problem with Shivana. I think I would love her to be in the game.
Yeah.
But I think that for her dragon form, I don't know how they will implement that, because without having it take hard the screen.
That type of thing has been done before. Fucking Son in Marvel 2 has an install super where she transforms into a gorilla that's half the size of the screen. Like, Son's not a great character, but it shows that the type of move can be done. I think that it'd be very interesting to see that type of thing done. And as much as I haven't mentioned Smash Bros very often, one thing I like about Bowser in Smash Brawl and Smash 4 specifically, he doesn't have it in Smash Ultimate sadly, is that his final smash in those games is he transforms into Giga Bowser, where he basically has the same moveset but bigger, with extra effects on it. You could totally do that with Shyvana in a dragon form.
Well, it works, but I think you would say that getting bigger and faster is faster, no, but bigger. Something that works better in platform fighter. And you need to remember something, that when he's Giga Bowser, he cannot die. I mean, he can go down and fall, but he doesn't take damage. And in Brawl, he does take damage, but he's not super armor for the whole
this would be a
duration.
super, you know? This would be like a big super. This would be like an ultimate move that
Yeah,
costs
but there is
all
like
your meter
no
to do.
counterplay but run from that. And in Smash Bros, you can run from Smash 4, especially
Well,
Smash
we don't
Bros.
know what the defensive
because
mechanics of the game are going to look like, but if I'm seeing any character like be like the be all and end all like install character, it's got to be Shyvana.
And second problem I have with her, she's likely to be reworked 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, I don't know.
They basically said they will rework all of the port characters, and Udyr is coming. Nocturne is next, and Shivan and Queen are coming right after.
Yeah, I kind of just want that to be done and over with, just so I can stop being so tense about it. I just want to know what they're doing to preserve AD Shyvana, because I just want to fucking slap people as a dragon. Goddammit.
Okay, make her hot, literally, and that's what I want.
Well, you know, here's a man who's got his priorities straight. All right. Anyway, Singed. Singed is not there. Singed is here. Singed, I want to call him unlikely because I can't see a moveset for him.
Same.
I mean, he'd be. If I were to describe what I think you could possibly do with him, it's like weird DOT grappler. But like poison characters aren't much of a thing in fighting games. It's been tried a few times, like Fang in Street Fighter V and like Lin's HSDM in KOF 2002 UM. Like poison mechanics do show up from time to time, but they're not really done commonly. I don't see it as something that they're likely to attempt, and Singed's only other things are he runs away and he flings you over his head, but there's like nowhere to run in a 2D fighting game, and like what are you going to do after you've flung your opponent? Like it's not exactly cinematic. It would almost certainly be a command throw, but it's not like it would lead to an
I
interesting
think that
mix-up situation.
if the game was a 3D fighter, Singe would be a no-brainer to find a way to make him more. But it 2D.
Well, yeah, his fling would make so much more sense in a 3D fighting game because you could fling people into walls or off of stages. It would just be like Siegfried's flapjack.
Yeah, and you could use his poison can cover areas, and he can make the glue thing he has as well.
Singe would make more sense in a 3D fighting game than he would in a 2D one.
Or in the platform fighter, but that's no, it doesn't fit this type of game that we have here.
Yeah, he's not completely out of the question because he at least is human sized, but yeah, he's unlikely to be sure.
Poison is put in likely because you and me have no idea how to make him more, but maybe Riot does.
Yeah, maybe they'll come up with something.
Right. I just want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
I forgot. So we talked for too long. I forgot what I did say. Was great. I will if I come back.
Yeah. All right. Scion. Scion's another big body candidate.
Basically for me, Scion is like Mordekaiser. They are both like giants that can be scaled down relatively because he's 9 feet tall.
Yeah, Scion's a more reasonable size. The biggest problem I can see with Scion is implementing his death passive. I can't see that working hugely well. Maybe they could make it so that like if he dies, you can still call him in as an assist or something. I don't know. That'd be broken. I don't know. That's the biggest problem I can see with implementing Scion. But otherwise, he'd be very easy, an easy implementation for like a big body character that probably doesn't have a command grab. You know, like the Gold Lewis style of big body.
No, I think that we should either put Mordekaiser in neutral as well or Scion down to unlikely because I think that they are both as likely to each other to be made.
No, I think Scion's more likely simply because they don't have to as egregiously scale him down. You could implement him.
Scion is taller than Mordekaiser.
Is he?
Mordekaiser is 8. Scion is 9 feet tall. I just googled both tonight. That's why I remembered it.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll bump Mordekaiser up then, because yeah, I was under the impression that Mordekaiser, like lore-wise, was supposed to be more massive. You know like how he appears in the
Pentakill?
Yeah, the Pentakill music video where he's just like fucking crashing through a house and he's as tall as it is. Like if that was like how his size is in the canon, then yeah, you can't put that character in a fighting game without scaling him down very egregiously. But if he's just like 8 feet tall, that's reasonable because that's like as tall as Gragas is supposed to be. Like that's like exaggerated but reasonable big body size in a game that's likely to be as similar to Marvel vs. Capcom as Project L is going to be.
On another source, they say it's 12 dollars a month. So I found both 8 and
yeah, you know what I mean. It's the ambiguity about his size. Let me just put Mordekaiser back where he was. But Scion's more reasonable, and that's why I put him above.
But to be fair, you have left Aatrox in neutral, and Aatrox is like super giant.
He can be super giant, but he isn't always. In his reveal trailer, he doesn't start off as a giant.
It's true that he can change his size.
I mean, that could probably just be a big super attack. You know, he stuns you, he cinematically becomes huge, and then big sword slam, and then he's back to normal. It's been done before. It was like Ares' super in Injustice, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure there's at least one fatality in Mortal Kombat that does that. I don't know, it's a thing.
Aatrox 20 feet tall. Wow. That's big.
Yeah. Big man,
6
big
meters.
sword. Alright. Anyway, Sivir. Uh, Boomerang characters are a thing, like Captain America.
I mean, duh.
Yeah, she could just be a Captain America function, easily enough. Minus charging
uh,
star.
there are a lot of room to do something with her.
Yeah, she's a very open-ended character.
She's only constrained by having a boomerang blade, but
Yeah.
that's more like tools to do something good rather
Yeah.
than a...
Alright, Skarner. Skarner, I think is no way, just because I think his body type is too unconventional. I can see you putting a bird in a fighting game. I can't see you putting a crystal scorpion in a fighting game.
Plus corner is 16 feet.
Oh, also that. He's also too big.
But I think that most people won't really care if it's scaled down to a normal size. But yeah, body type plus the fact that I think that Riot doesn't know what to do with Corner.
that too. Like, that's if they could figure out what to do with him generally, not even in the context of a fighting game. Oh man, Skarner, you've seen so much better days. Right, Sona.
And even then, it wasn't that simple.
Yeah, Sona. Okay, so if Seraphine doesn't belong, Sona definitely doesn't belong.
I think that she doesn't belong much, but if you were to pick Sona or Seraphine for the fighting, I mean, you had to pick one, I would pick Sona. Like,
Oh yeah, easily. Sona belongs in League of Legends media more than Seraphine.
And a Seraphine player, not a Sona player. So...
Bleh. All right. Soraka.
She was more fun.
I'm gonna say Soraka. No way, just because she doesn't hurt people. Like if they do assist only characters, then Soraka's an assist, but only an assist.
To be fair, if you put Sona in unlikely, I would go along with Soraka as well. I mean, it's more or less implied that yeah, she's not a fighter, but she had been not avoiding fights. And it's kind of like the healer in an army that doesn't shy away from the battlefield. They don't shoot, but they are there. Like but Ivern just wouldn't be in the battle.
Yeah.
So I think she's very unlikely.
Right. Swain.
You leave her in no way.
I'll leave Soraka in no way.
Personally, yeah, it would be unlikely. Like,
well,
okay.
Yeah. Swain, I think, probably goes in neutral.
Oh yeah, it would be a good pick as well for Noxus.
He'd be a decent pick. He'd be another install character.
He would have like his gameplay would remind me a lot of Darius, but using magic rather than weapon.
Yeah, but like he'd probably end up being too similar to Darius in terms of moveset, or like his like he'd have another one of those like claw grab moves that probably end up being too similar to what we envisioned Mordekaiser's claw grab as. I don't know. There's only so many of a certain archetype of move that you can have in the game. I don't know. Swain I see as like more likely than Mordekaiser if I were to pick one of the two characters to have that move. But yeah, Swain has importance to him, but I don't know. He's not the type of character that probably wants to be in the roster of a fighting game because he's more of a tactician than he is a fighter. I don't know. Like. I wouldn't. I don't think he's unlikely, but I don't think he's like particularly likely.
That's properly reflected in the way they implemented him in Legend of Runeterra, where he's more focused on indirect damage.
Yeah, exactly. He gives the orders. He doesn't do the dirty work himself. After all,
Swain feels like he's fine doing it if necessary, rather than
necessary,
as something that he thinks about.
Yeah. Right, Silas. Silas would probably be a pretty good candidate for a fighting game, but there's the whole move stealing thing.
Oh yeah, which move will he steal? That's the question.
Well, I mean, this mechanic has been done. I mean, Seth in Street Fighter V does this about as well as you can imagine, but like, I don't know. Adding Silas to your game in a fighting game would probably require a bit more specific integration of that kind of system, and it adds an inherent extra development cost to adding any character after Silas, because everything that you add in the new character has to be compatible with what Silas will steal from them. So adding Silas to the game implicitly adds an extra development cost to every character, because you then have to retroactively add stuff to Silas to make him work with them.
Which they do with League already. And they could do it with Project L because it will have fewer characters.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that makes him any less likely. I'm just saying that's something that is worth laying on the table.
Or how they did with Kirby in Smash, they keep adding Kirby content after every character.
Yeah, Kirby keeps getting new hats. It's great.
Yeah, but I mean, when compared to Kirby's, that's because Seth in Street Fighter copies more than just one move.
No, he copies just the one move.
He doesn't copy just a bit of the style of the character?
No. Seth's copy takes exactly one special move, and he can use it once before he has to steal again.
Oh, so like Silas. But the difference is that Silas, well, he's not tired of copying the art. Kind of implied that he absorbed the magic of Lux.
Yeah. The whole like extra like doubled cooldown on individual enemy champions' ultimates is there for gameplay reasons, so he can't just keep stealing the best enemy ultimate and using that over and over again off cooldown, because the cooldown on hijack is considerably shorter than a lot of other ultimates by the end of the game. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, but he can only use one guy ultimate at twice the cooldown of the enemy's ultimate. So he needs to change which one he copies.
Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna call him fairly neutral.
Yeah, because I mean, in himself with his moves, with the chains and stuff, there is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can make a good gameplay if we ignore the stealing part.
Yeah. Syndra. I think she kind of has the same like doesn't punch problem, but it's less of a big deal because I can totally see Syndra essentially punching you with magic.
No, I don't see that. I like with many mages, I see her using other type of weak moves that don't really imply hitting physically.
Well, yeah, she wouldn't make the punch motion. She would just extend her arm a bit, and then just like the visual effect of magic punching you would do the work.
Like with Morgana, I can see her slapping you.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like Syndra's neutral, and she'd be a good character to give a flight mode if they decide to give characters those. Let's keep rattling along. Tahm Kench, I think he's unlikely. He would be a big body character, but his body proportions don't really lend themselves well to his
he's known to
screen.
be able to change his size. He can do it.
Okay, well, no, I'm not saying specifically about his size. I mean specifically about his body proportions. Like, I feel like his limbs are a bit stubby. You know, like even if he's technically huge, he'd still have to stand relatively close to you to even reach you with one of his arms.
Remember that fucking tongue.
there's also that, yeah, but I feel like that kind of thing would probably get relegated specifically to use for like his heavier normals or his special attacks. They probably wouldn't use it for all of his normal attacks. He would still have to use his arms and legs. I'm not saying that he's out of the question, but I don't think he's likely for just an animation-based reason.
Yeah, the problem with Tahm Kench is that he uses only two things, his tongue and his mouth.
Yeah.
You need to be creative, and they probably won't be creative for Tahm Kench.
Yeah, he's not necessarily a character that's super worth the extra creativity it would take.
Because there are other characters that can fit his archetype as well.
Yeah.
Or the more popular that are more likely to get attention. Yeah.
Talia, I think, is unlikely for the same reason as Cassiopeia, in that all of her moves are probably going to end up a bit too ground-based.
No, because she can literally throw rocks.
Yeah.
So she can. She's not tied to the ground as much. She can make mini. I think there's a lot more room to do things with. Cassiopeia.
Maybe she's more likely than Cassiopeia.
I mean, the way I see her, she can be Syndra, but instead of Dark Sphere, is rock.
Okay, fair enough, I suppose. Bonus points for her over Cassiopeia is that she has legs. That helps a bit. But again, she's also a wizard that's in the category of probably doesn't punch.
I think I would most likely see Talia punch before I see Syndra punch.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
because it will fit more her character.
Yeah,
In a sense that it feels like Talia is okay going to the hands if she has no choice, where Syndra is probably going to be pissed by doing that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Talon. Talon's a character that, yeah, he could work well enough, I suppose. Like, he'd probably be another candidate for having a double jump, just because of the mobility you'd expect him to have. He'd probably be a very vortex based character where he'd do a short combo, get a hard knockdown, and then he'd use like a rake to basically force you to block the wake up mix up, and just do that over and over again. So very similar to the type of thing that I described.
He's like the things I said with
LeBlanc.
No, Camille.
Okay.
Is that I really see him working. I really see that he can be clearly defined. It's just that if he's not there, it's not like a big loss, or it's not.
Yeah.
They have not the
There's
biggest.
no reason why they couldn't do him, but Talon isn't exactly the most interesting character anyway. So yeah.
But they can do it. They are like free
yeah. All right, Tarek I think is unlikely because he's too defensive. Like they probably could make him work, but most of his iconic features aren't exactly great attacks. You know. Right. Teemo.
Okay, I would put him in likely for one reason. If they have to choose one order, it's
Teemo's kind of like the most iconic one, besides possibly Tristana, but like
no, he's more iconic than
you're right. It's just Teemo. Teemo's the most iconic one. He's likely on that basis alone. If you pick one Yordle, it's Teemo. But like he's I don't know. Maybe they could make him work for like a fighting game. Like he'd probably be like a mostly like trap character, fills the screen with shit that you have to maneuver around. That'd probably be his whole thing. Yeah.
And if they have to pick one and exactly one weirdo, that's Teemo.
Yeah. Right. Thresh.
Oh, I would definitely see Thresh.
Thresh, yeah. I think I'm gonna call Thresh likely, and the specific reason is I think he's probably the best candidate of any character that we've mentioned so far to fill the long limbs archetype. Like if there's any character that's a function of Dalsim in this roster of characters, it's Thresh.
Yeah, totally agree on that. We saw him fight in cutscenes before the Renation with Lucian and stuff.
Yeah.
We saw the cutscene when you went fresh after the Renation.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he has no problem doing it.
Yeah.
He can throw his lance on me, the hook, and yeah. He can be as well the you said about Blitzcrank. If you want a range grappler, he can be that as well.
Yeah. All right, Tristana.
Wow. Meh.
Neutral, I guess. I don't know.
I have no idea how you make Tristana work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Without being a less interesting version of the marksman adapted to a fighting game.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Than Tristana.
Yeah, basically precisely that. Trundle.
In a sense, there is enough room for them to make anything they want with Trundle.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the stat stealing monster that he is in League of Legends.
Yeah.
Especially because, but like in Legend of Runeterra, he's a disruptor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think that this type of gameplay really works in a fighting game.
Yeah, like he
maybe 3D.
I think he makes more sense in a tag fighting game rather than one where he's on his own, because I can see the fucking pillar, the frost pillar being a very good assist move.
Yeah, but how do you make him? What do you do when he's the main fighter?
He calls his other character to assist him so that he can set the pillar down and use that to approach, because he can use that to deny some screen space or something. I don't know, like there's things you can do with him. I'm just not overly enthused by the ideas that currently exist because let's be real. Apart from putting up the troll pillar, most of what Trundle does is he runs at you and he hits you. Like there's not a lot that's already there. You'd have to basically come up with the entire move set apart from that.
Yeah, and there are other characters that I think would be a better idea to pick if you want a rush down fragile character that just hits you like Olaf and Trinidad. I think that those two are a better pick.
Yeah,
if you don't find an interesting way to use the disruption.
Exactly. All right, Twisted Fate. I feel like I want to call him at least neutral because of how likely we said Graves is, but like.
Well, I think neutral is fine for me.
Yeah. I don't know, like, it's another instance where I can't really think of a good moveset for him. And before anyone says, oh, just, you know, you've referenced Marvel vs. Capcom enough times, just make him Gambit. Gambit has a stick. No. Twisted Fate, again, suffers from the wizard problem of, I can't see him punching people. Like, given his background, he probably has punched people, but, like, just, the way he works in all existing material, punching people is not something that he does.
I would rather. I think he's better than the mages for this because I can see him punch because he's living in a pirate city, and it's more or less implied with all the cutscene he appeared in that while he's not the one looking for a fight, he's not the one going away from them either.
Yeah.
And secondly, maybe he can just slap you with cards. It works. I mean,
yeah, they can definitely visually make it work. Like he just fucking clonks you on the head with the entire deck.
Let me go with a super bad example.
He could be an interesting resource character where like he kind of like throws cards at you and that changes what cards on the top of the deck and you can like rig it or something like that. Like he'd be a good resource character.
Let me just have fun with one bad example, but I still like it. In Yakuza Like a Dragon, you can unlock a special move when you hit people with money. Literally, with you take a pack of notes, banknotes, and you slap people with them. Why not do that with cards?
Because most people don't keep cards in like the same kind of sack that you would keep banknotes in. I don't know. Like I'm imagining like a very cartoony bag of money when you say what you just described. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's cartoony to be.
There's definite potential for Twisted Fate. I don't think it's as nearly as obvious as Graves, but again, it's one of those pairs of characters that's very likely to appear with one another. But they've been separated from each other before, so it's not out of the question that we'd have Graves and not Twisted Fate.
We had a lot of Graves without Twisted Fate. It's really only in the cutscenes and story that they are together.
Yeah, that's true.
In other media, they don't really appear. But I think that the pick a card gameplay, if it's implemented differently, like no stun, no mana and stuff, they can make something really fun with it, and I want to see it.
Okay, Twitch. Twitch is, I'm going to say, unlikely just because of his stature and how much he'd be competing with some other probably better candidates for the type of archetype that he'd fulfill.
He's not interesting?
He's not as... It's not that he's not interesting, it's that there are other characters that would probably be more interesting if implemented using the functions that he probably has in a fighting game. Because what's he going to have in a fighting game? He's going to have, like, maybe a short teleport to mimic the function of his stealth. He's going to have some projectiles, and he's going to have like a trap that he just like you know a move where he essentially leaves like a damage carpet on the screen. But like that's probably going to be like Teemo's thing. So it's more likely to be Teemo than Twitch. So I think Twitch is unlikely on that basis.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Yeah. Okay, Udyr, I'm just going to leave as neutral because his rework is so close now that there is no point in commenting on him based on his current design. So
to be fair, if there were no reworking coming and the character wasn't as ugly as he is, I would go with Likely.
Yeah, but we don't know anything, so no comment on Udyr. Urgot,
unlikely. He's big.
Very unlikely. He'd be a very unconventional big body type character if he were being implemented.
I don't see Urgot jumping either.
Yeah.
Like with Nilesh Sandra.
Yeah. Same as what I said with Twitch and Timo. I think Varus is unlikely because he's kind of competing for the same space that Ashe is, and I can very easily see Ashe implemented long before Varus.
Yeah.
Vayne, you said you think Vayne is quite likely.
Yeah. I think that's because they can easily make a character that wants to stay this very mobile as staying as a short but clear distance. She stay away from you. It's not like short distance, but she's clearly a range character. But she doesn't want to be half a screen away either, just a bit shorter than that. And she's very mobile at keeping this distance, but has very few tools that maybe her condemn can be there, but it can be slow and very laggy and stuff. So she has very few ways of keeping things away outside of moving around them and dealing damage. And I don't know if they will implement a mechanic like our silver bots. Please don't, or at least don't make it. Well, they could. It doesn't really matter if it's person health because it's fixed health. Oh no, they might make some characters have more HP than others.
Yeah, I wouldn't see that as being out of the question.
No, well, they won't do it. Well, they might do it, but with flat damage.
Yeah.
Like they do in TFT. But I think I really think that if they make her be chase but stay at the same range, very mobile type of champion.
Yeah, the neutral controlling poke character, but with like projectiles rather than big hitbox buttons.
Yeah, but very very little zone controls. Like Lucian can have his Q in the game that snaps and forces you to either crouch or jump or block. Vayne doesn't have that. She only fires normally and maybe one or two special moves that she can use, and that's it. And I think if they are basing a bit of the game based on what they did with Rising Thunder, there will be cooldowns on some moves. We don't know. For that, we have no idea.
Yeah, I get you.
So they can use the same mechanic as they did in League. That is, she has Condemn, but it has a super long cooldown. So you need to use it at the right moment, otherwise you're screwed. And no stealth, please, no stealth.
Yeah, please no stealth. Okay, well, yeah, I kind of get your vision for the character. I don't know. I feel like I'll probably just leave her in neutral. But
Sniff.
Yeah, that's a take. Vygar,
It's unlikely.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with unlikely.
Mage problem, but being small and even less likely to punch than all the others.
Yeah, and you can't really implement his whole stacking mechanic into a fighting game. There's no real abstraction for it, you know. Like I think the only time that this type of stacking mechanic has really worked was like Frank West in Marvel 3, where like you take photos of a big combo to get your stacks. But that allows you to stack up to 100 reasonably well. Unless this is the type of game that has huge combos, I highly doubt that you could do anything like that. And even then, like it wouldn't be a faithful adaptation of how he gets his stacks one at a time. It's a thing. I don't know. It's just like the whole fantasy of Vygar is stacking up to a big number, and I can't see you doing that in a fighting game. So on that
even
basis,
just the fact there's another fantasy that is dropping a big nuke.
Also that, yeah. I mean, I suppose like now that I think about it, maybe like you could make it like MODOK, where like he has like one special move that stacks up to a certain number of times, and then that just makes his nuke bigger the more of them he has before he casts it. Because in Marvel 3, MODOK has this move called Analyze Cube, and he can spend charges from Analyze Cube to make his other to do like stronger versions of the other special moves, or he can just cash it all in for his beam super that when stacked up to 10 is like one of the strongest supers in the game. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, but then you make a character out of a super rather than out of an entire gameplay. So
yeah, well, the thing about MODOK is that he works because that's not all there is to his character. That just happens to be one of the more unique facets that he has. But he's at the end of the day, he's the low flight mode character, but he's also got like some other major versatilities as well. And he's got some like normal buttons that put projectiles on the screen, one of which even lingers on the ground. MODOK is a weird character. Vygar would also need to be a weird character, but like I don't see there being as much potential for his weirdness compared to MODOK.
Yep.
Speaking of just as much the case as Vel'Koz.
Yeah, the same problems. Even worse, he's not human. He's supposed to be actually big.
Yeah, that's another thing that's severely limiting him. Actually, yeah, let's put him in no way because again, too big.
Vel'Koz is 40 feet tall. Yeah.
Yeah, no chance. No chance in
no
hell.
way.
Again, candidate for unplayable boss character, but not playable. All right, we're at the home stretch here. Viego.
Viego, for me, it's most likely neutral. They
Yeah.
won't use his revive mechanic. I mean, not the revive,
Soul
the
possession.
takeover
Yeah.
mechanic, because it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. There's a lot
But
about
they didn't
Viego
do that.
there's a lot that's thematically sound about Viego that you can't really use.
Well, yeah, but you can use the mist for some control things, damage, long range damage, and poke. He has a long sword, so he's a champion that wants to keep you spaced out from him. Yeah, you can do a lot actually for a lot of
You can do
basic.
a reasonable amount of things with him and the sword he carries, but not necessarily with all of the toolkit that he's supposed to have, both mechanically in League of Legends and the card game, and also in the lore. Like, I feel like it would undersell him a bit to just focus on the sword play aspect of him. Like, why not just give those moves to Garen or Fiora or Darius? You know, like someone who's more themselves focused on carrying the weapon.
Yeah, but there can be some interest of having Viego if you want to have other Shadow Eyes characters as well.
Yeah.
But I swear, I cannot see higher than neutral because I don't see how you make him more interesting than other sword characters.
That's true. That's true. All right, Victor. Victor is another candidate for like large amounts of space control, and he'd be another good candidate like Brand for like a Dormammu function where he has like a lot of like magic-y type attacks that have different paradigms when it comes to how he covers the screen with them. I think I might even bump him up to likely just because of again Arcane.
Yeah, but only yeah, I agree with the Arcane thing, especially if they make a season 2 when he actually appears with his mechanical appearance in Arcane.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of Arcane, let's
just before that.
Yeah.
If we go alphabetically, Vex should be done as well.
That's true. That's true. Let's just finish Vi first because Vi belongs up here because she's a boxer character. There's been no candidate for boxer character yet, and also Arcane. So she's gonna be in. Okay, she's just gonna be in. Okay.
The moment they showed Echo and Jinx for the trailer, you said, "Oh, Vi is in there."
Yeah, Vi.
Caitlyn, we can have doubts.
Yeah.
Some doubt, few doubts.
But
Vi is 100%.
All right, Vex. I'm gonna put in unlikely.
Yeah, same reason as Veigar.
Yeah, basically.
I see a better gameplay with her Shadow than Veigar with anything he has. I think the Shadow can be a really interesting and fun mechanic. Because it can extend on the ground and hit further, or it can just hit nearby. A bit like they did in some games, in Naruto games with Shikamaru, that can extend shadows on the ground.
Yeah.
But those were mostly 3D games as well.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. Vladimir probably goes in neutral. He's another one of those doesn't punch mages, but there are other aspects of him that I think would be very easy to implement. Like his pool would be very easy to just, take a carbon copy of Zato 1's Break the Law from Guilty Gear, and just that's Vladimir's pool in a fighting game. It's already been done. So there's things about him that'd be very very easy to port across. But again, he's one of those characters that you'd have to kind of still come up with most of the moveset for, because a lot of what he does in League of Legends is he just kind of chucks blood at you or steals yours,
which in many aspects can just be done as simply damage.
Yeah.
The main problem with Vladimir is that what makes him really different is his pull.
Yeah.
And the fact that he plays around the hair of his own hair or your hair.
Yeah, yeah. But again,
And
there are other
he,
characters that have done this. I mean, in terms of blood-based characters, that's also a thing. Like, the best example I can come up with is Carmine from Under Night, and he actually uses his own health bar as a resource to use his best special moves, and he's a big lockdown character. He spends his health to put huge things on the screen to keep you locked in place while he 50/50s you. Um, I'm not saying that I expect that out of Vladimir, but I'm saying the potential is there for a character that spends their health on moves that are ridiculous. Um, yeah, so I call him neutral. Warwick, Warwick, I think, is a good candidate for a big body character. Not necessarily one that has a command grab, but I can definitely.
I would say that the likely placement here is biased, but like
It's
super
mild.
biased.
No, no. If it was hugely biased, I'd put him in very likely. But I'm putting him here instead of neutral because of Arcane.
Yeah, I would still say it's very too early, but okay.
Look.
Uh,
He's one of the few things that they have directly teased about Arcane season 2.
oh yeah, but to be fair, people knew about that
Well, yeah.
since the episode one.
Anyone who has a brain has figured out who Warwick is. Okay.
Anyone who has no who had a brain and had played League of Legends, because
Okay.
people
Yeah.
who came to Arcane with no knowledge didn't get it. But that's
Okay. Yeah. True.
but
Enough.
for
True enough.
players, episode one we understood it.
Yeah.
Episode one.
Okay. Okay.
The Arcane
Warwick did
scheme
nothing wrong.
worked.
Anyway, yeah, I think he's fairly likely. He wouldn't be a grappler big body, but he would be a he would be a
No,
big body.
he would slash. He would
Yeah.
hit with slash and claws and stuff. He won't. I would see him being a mix of. He wants to rush you down with his blood trail and maybe get pumped with his chemicals on his back
Yeah.
into his blood and get enraged, which would make you slightly move faster and hit faster for a few seconds. I don't know. But at the same time, I
Yeah,
don't
he
see
could
him
have
being
like a
like, I
berserker
want to
charge,
be
like Wolverine's
and
basically
if
speed
they want
install.
to use to make him use his jaw, they can make him more of a melee, like very close range with jaw and claws. And if they want to have claws and stretching arms and stuff and jumping, he can be a bit more of a keep some distance, but more agile and more moving than Nazar.
Yeah. All right. Wukong. Wukong, I think
Speaking of
is
tough character,
yeah. Wukong,
yeah.
I think is just very neutral.
He's the only character in the game that fights with a staff.
Yeah.
Like,
But
yeah,
the thing
nobody
about
has a-
Wukong is that there's so many things that you can borrow from other fighting game characters that have his namesake. You can give him an air dash that's just him on a cloud because that's what a Wukong character would have. You can give him an extending staff move because that's what a Wukong character would have. You know, like this isn't just League of Legends Wukong here. We're talking about every character that has ever bothered from the Legend of Sun Wukong. Okay, I mean Son
But
Son
to
in
be
Marvel vs.
fair,
Capcom 2 is literally this character.
the Wukong we have in League isn't that different from the Wukong we have in other games already.
Yeah, exactly. Like it wouldn't
Don't
be
feel
hard to put
nothing
Wukong
new.
in. But
Extending
it wouldn't be
the
anything we
stuff,
haven't seen before.
well, it can be done because it has been done, but I don't really think it's really interesting to do it once more.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's that. Zerath.
Unlikely.
Yeah. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Between Brom and Cassia.
Yeah. My mouse is fucked. But yeah, Zerath I think is unlikely, and he's competing in the space of a lot of other characters that would basically be relegated to pure keep out. So Xin Zhao. No reason why they couldn't do him, but again,
Jarvan tier.
Yeah, Jarvan tier of like, yeah, you'd have to come up with a moveset for him because there's basically nothing
but
about
then
him that would make for a good 2D fight.
He would just be that character from Soul Calibur. I forgot the name.
Sungmina. He literally has Sungmina's weapon demonstration from Soul Calibur 2 as his dance animation.
Yeah, well.
Killick? Is that who you're thinking of?
I forgot which one it was. Yeah, it can be Swingmina already.
Yeah.
They both have a spear.
No, Killick has a staff.
No, I mean Swingmina and Zinzao.
Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, Alright, so that's that. Yes, Yasuo and Yone, I think are likely because it's the bros. If you're gonna have a pair of like almost clone characters, it's gonna be these two.
Okay, let me tell you something. Yasuo, you can even move him to very likely.
Okay, and why do you say that?
If they first it's Yasuo, so if he can be somewhere, he will be in.
Yeah.
Because people want to play him. Samurai style gameplay, so you can have you can if you want a samurai showdown character in the game, here's your
Yeah, if you want your Iaido style swordsman, you've got
yeah.
Yasuo here.
I'm talking most of you, but if you want some samurai showdown gameplay, less combo, more punish.
Yeah, but Yasuo strikes too fast for that. The thing about Samurai Showdown specifically is that it's a game that's focused around big sword swings. You know, it's everything is huge. Yasuo is he's not exactly death by 1,000 cuts, but it's not like he's going to kill you in one.
That's true.
Like I'd almost say Scion and Mordekaiser would be more suited to the Samurai Showdown pace, where it's one hit that if placed correctly does fucking 60% by itself. But yeah. I kind of get you. Yasuo is probably more likely than than Yone because he has a specific visual archetype that he represents that's more unique from the one that Yone does. But I think the two of them are both quite likely just on the basis of their popularity and the amount of similarities that they could have that would still enable them to be differentiated from one another. Also Yasuo is just very fucking popular anyway.
Also, I think because Windwall and Yone's E can be really interesting mechanics in a fighting game more than they do in League of Legends.
Yeah. Alright, only a few left. Yorick, I think Yorick would be another candidate for puppet character. He'd be like on the larger end compared to Annie, but he'd probably be very similar to Annie in terms of the amount that he ends up controlling.
I have a take on Yorick.
Yeah.
I think that if they were to implement him in the fighting game, they would make him very different from what he is in League of Legends because it feels like they are not really satisfied with what they've done with him.
Well, it depends on how much they want to lean into the whole controlling of ghouls thing. I mean, if they wanted to, they could easily make him focus much more on that and turn him into a character that's more like Blackheart in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where he basically never attacks you directly. He's always chucking lesser demons at you. But this is Yorick. He has a shovel. He's going to hit you with the shovel. I don't know. But I could definitely see him being somewhere between Blackheart and a puppet character.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Yumi, no way.
No way.
No.
Like,
she shouldn't be in League of Legends, and she definitely shouldn't be in the fighting game. Let's move on.
Okay, I would say that I don't want Yumi in the game, but I want a Yumi skin for April Fool's Day. Give it to whatever champion you want.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay. They'll find a way to sell as Yumi even if she's not playable. Alright, Zac, another candidate for big body. I don't know how you would do the whole visual mechanic of him getting smaller as he has less health. That feels like it'd be a bad thing to implement, but he's another candidate.
No, they shouldn't do it.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't do that, but he's another candidate for a big body character, and there's like nothing especially wrong with that.
He can literally be Dalsim.
Yeah, he can be like a large body version of the Dalsim type character that Thresh would be. I don't know. Right, Zed.
For me, it's very likely to have Zed.
Yeah, Zed.
If you want with the shadows and the gameplay with the shadows and stuff, it's.
Yeah.
I definitely see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Zed's a very poster child type character. He's the ultimate edgelord. Like of the characters that we've lined up so far, Zed has a certain base of people that he will appeal to. That like you kind of need to have the edgy character.
And it can appeal to the people who will say, "Oh, it's Scorpion." Oh, well, no, it's not Scorpion, but here is your ninja.
Yeah, well, close enough, right? I mean, I suppose if you're going to compare him to any of the Mortal Kombat ninjas, it'd probably be Noob Saibot.
Plus, I really want to see the gameplay about putting a shadow, using it to both force your opponent to check where you are, where your shadow is. You can jump it or not if you want.
There's a lot of potential ambiguous 50-50s that you can do with that.
I don't think I want them to allow shadows to copy your moves, because that would be incredibly broken in a 2D fighting.
Yeah, but at least use it to create ambiguous positioning. So he'd probably have to be like a glass cannon mix-up focused character, which he basically is in League of Legends anyway.
Kind of like that they did with Echo in the trailer, but more proactive.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's shadows rather than after images. All right then. Anyway, Ziggs, I'm gonna put in neutral. He'd probably be another keep away type character. He's probably one on the more likely end with yordles, because there's a lot of ways you can abstract various functions into just explosives that he can chuck.
To be fair, if we have Veigar and Vex in unlikely, he's unlikely as well. He shares the same problem of being too short, won't fight directly. He's probably more interesting than those. No, I think Vex is more interesting.
The reason why I think you could make him work is because he's easier to find an analogy in an existing game, and that analogy is probably Rocket Raccoon in Marvel 3. I think this type of character exists more commonly than the type of character that Veigar and Vex would necessarily have to be. I think they could do Ziggs easier than they could do Veigar or Vex, and it's mostly because of the fact that he's a bomb character rather than a magic character.
That's a fair point, but that still doesn't sell it to me. Personally, it won't bump him above unlikely.
Okay. I'm going to leave him at neutral because it's my list. Fuck you. Alright, only a few left. Zilean, I'm going to go with no way, because there's no way of implementing his most iconic things and having them be basically worth doing. Like, oh, I can spend my meter to revive myself. Oh, great. Now we have to play the game a bit more. The only way that they can make that balance is in a 1v1 fighting game where Gil's revive in Street Fighter 3, yes, he's a boss character, but when he revives, he can't earn meter for the rest of the match. In a 2v2 fighting game, you kind of can't have that restriction, because what if you revive and you still have your other character? Are you going to prevent that other character from earning meter? It's kind of ambiguous, and if that is the case, are you going to prevent him from earning meter like for the whole match, or is he going to be allowed to get meter if he tags out and then tags back in again? I don't know. There's just too many questions surrounding the revive.
Ignore the revive.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they don't use outside of League. They don't use it in Legends of Runeterra.
No, it does exist in Legends of Runeterra. It's his champion spell.
Right, it's a card you get. It's not.
No. It's his champion spell. If you have a Zilean on the board and you draw another Zilean, the spell that he transforms into is his revive.
Let me read. Ronstad, create a fleeting copy of each non-fleeting card I saw you play last round. Create 4 time bombs in your deck, then predict.
No, check the spell card. The champion spell.
All right. So it's a spell card. It's not the champion itself. That's what I told you.
Yeah, but it's his spell card. Like, it's specifically the card that he transforms into when you already have a Zilean on the board and you have a Zilean in hand.
Yeah, it's the spell card.
The point is, you can't separate Zilean from his revive. It's present with him everywhere, in every game that he's been in, which has been exactly 2 games at this point. But you know.
Here is the thing. I really like the way the time bomb could be used. Basically, he attach the time bomb to you, and you have to guard at the moment it explodes. Otherwise, you take damage, which forces you to take a situation where you're probably a lose-lose situation. Because you have to guard, which means that
this is yet another thing that already exists in Marvel vs. Capcom in the form of Beautiful Joe's bomb, which is unblockable for both players. But it creates mix-up situations where, like, you know, you have to deal with it, or you're going to find yourself in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, it's just the way they've done it with Sephiroth in Ultimate. It basically, you can charge multiple bombs. Maybe Zilean could do the same, and after a while they explode, they attack you basically, and you have to guard at this moment, which forces you to be on a guard position. So you open yourself to being grabbed, or the moves that can follow up on the guard you didn't choose.
Yeah, so it forces you into a 50-50, but it'd probably be slower than the type of forced mix-ups with a bunch of other characters that I've described with moves that would just hold you in place for a while.
But to be fair, that's why I wouldn't put him in. No way. I think that there's other part of his skill that you can use. Maybe you can have a move that moves time faster. So instead of moving faster, your frame data is slightly faster for like a few seconds.
No, that's a really dangerous thing to think about implementing, because it allows you to it potentially allow certain frame data breakpoints to be reached to where like you could put other characters in impossible to deal with mix-up situations.
It doesn't have to be a non-universal multiplier. It can just be some moves get faster or some special moves
I
get
still think it's
faster.
a dangerous even principle to implement. I guess I
Or
will move on to unlikely, but I think he's like there's a bunch of things about Zillion that they'd have a hard time implementing, and some things that they perhaps even shouldn't consider trying to. And I really like, if it were me, I wouldn't bother.
all right, well, that's the first statement.
All right, Zoe.
The portals can be really fun.
I guess I don't know she'd be mostly she'd be another one of those I just endlessly chuck shit at you characters.
Yeah, depends on how they make the portal work and how central yet not overwhelming part of a kid is. Because if they make it so that she needs to poke behind you or above you or below you and stuff to get her things down, then she's a big mix-up character.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if she's too much of a mix-up character, then the whole gameplay around her is guess where she will appear. Oh,
yeah, another ambiguous mix-up sort of character. I don't know. Like, I don't see her as being particularly unlikely, but I don't see her as particularly likely either. And if I'm honest, just because I don't like Zoe, I hope they don't. They just don't.
And last but not least,
last Zyra. I'd be fairly neutral on her. I don't see any reason why they couldn't use her. I think she kind of overcomes the wizard that doesn't punch problem by the fact that she has fucking plant vines coming out of her arms, so she can just do all of her strikes with those. She could be
will say poison ivy.
Yeah, they will. She's another candidate for the long limbs type character, but I think she'd be less obvious in that space than Thresh.
I would definitely get. I think Thresh is more likely and is more interesting as this type of character than Zyra.
Yeah.
Because there's more expression from the character itself than from the plants.
But she could be a specific hybrid of long limbs and the type of character that like puts like traps down and in spaces. I don't know. Like there's a few things that she could do that in terms of combined functions that don't really necessarily mesh that well with certain other characters. Like she could do the Heimerdinger put turrets down and also be a long limbs character at the same time. There's not really any other characters in the game that you could envision being that type of combination. But yeah, that could pose some problems, but it also could not. I don't know. It depends on specifically what they decided to give her. But either way, I don't see her as being particularly likely. But that she doesn't have some problems that make her particularly unlikely. Okay, and that's where we're at. So I expect every single one of these characters in the very likely row to basically be in the base roster. I'd be very surprised if any of these characters were missing. Yeah, most of the likely characters are, if not base roster, then probably like season 1. Let's call it. You know.
But how I see it is very likely we would be idiots if we didn't guess correctly that this character will be in. Likely, I can safely say that half of the character that are likely are going to be in. But neutral, maybe 10% of them, and unlikely maybe like 100.
Maybe 1. Maybe 1, and specifically because we need a weird character, and they're unlikely specifically because there can only really be like a small handful of weird characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a pretty solid list. So yeah, I guess we'll call it there. If you've somehow managed to listen to this whole thing, then thank you for your patience. I don't know how you did it.
I don't know how we did it either.
Yeah, I need a drink. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, Force. I'll catch you all next time.